The first semi-final of 1998 underway, and it's Port Adelaide and Norwood. Well, who would have thought the Redlegs and the Magpies in a knockout final, the first time since 1958. Keating gets the knock for Norwood. It goes down the throat of Bamford. Carter goes hard at it, and already the players have shown a willingness to mix it up. Joining us in commentary today, Mark Naley, and special comments, Michael Parsons. Welcome, Michael. We're looking forward to a big, hard clash this afternoon.
And there's a lot of people here doing exactly the same thing, David. A big crowd in and a fantastic day for football.
Keating again, opposed to Jakes, who was so wonderful last week. Keating has won the second tap in a row. Jakes' second effort was very good. Trent Ormanellen over the top of the ball, but James holds it. It's a dead heat. You can see how tense, Mark Naley, it is out there in the opening stages.
Yes, the Magpies over the last month really have been aggressive at the football, also at the players. And Norwood, they need to respond. Disappointing loss last week to West Adelaide in that qualifying final.
Nobody wants to let that first possession go to the other team. Everybody in at the ball.
Very tight. Looks like Darryl Borlase has been picked up by Scott Doreen early in this game. Tony Bamford picking up the dangerous John Cunningham for Norwood. Keating gets the tap. Down to Cunningham. He's desperate over the top of the football. In over the top of Cunningham was his tagger for the afternoon, and Bamford. And that's going to be a magnificent clash between a couple of players that really are in good form.
Very little wind at Football Park to speak of. Darryl Borlase of Port Adelaide has won the toss and elected to kick to the southern end of Football Park, to the right of screen. Sujai Cook sets out after that one. Ricochets back to him, flicks it out further. Obst, one of the favourites in this year's Magarey medal. He figured, but he didn't win. Over the top, it's Clements running strongly inside 50, heads towards goal, but it's offline. A point. Norwood get the first score in the first semi-final.
The ball took a long time to come out of that centre congestion at the start of the game. Both teams very keen to get that first score on the board. It's gone to Norwood. Would have been a great start to put that one between the sticks.
Ambrose to bring the ball back in. Gets the whistle from the umpire, then releases the kick. 15 is Jared Polton, playing the half-back line. Quick kick across the top to Morgan. Morgan again just wants to keep possession, gives it across to Bamford. Bamford quickly gets off the mark, sees Carter running through the middle of the ground. He finds him. Carter backs himself, breaks through a tackle applied by Hughes, puts it up forward, challenge for Hodges, the mark, the kick, the goal.
Fabulous goal from Port Adelaide. Great work from Carter coming through the middle. Eyes only for the ball, really went at it hard. Possession came to his way. In the end, I think Scotty Hodges was a little lucky. He led one way, slipped over. Carter had no option then to go long, and the slip allowed Scotty Hodges to get the sit on his direct opponent, which is Dale Flemington today. And a great goal. Great start for Port Adelaide.
Three minutes in, and Port Adelaide have got the first goal on the board of the first semi-final. You remember back to Scott Hodges and his performance in the preliminary final of 1996, and it must give the Redlegs nightmares. Could he do it again? Harvey and Morgan. Morgan flicks out the handball wide into space, running through solidly. Burgoyne upended by Opt. Play on, said the umpire, and it's Bamford. Short and deep into the pocket, forces it forward, and Binky underneath it, but the kick's coming back.
Yeah, free kick against, I think it was Burgoyne.
I think they got scragged by the neck. Felt he should have been given a free kick.
Well, the free kick was there. It was played advantage. But Burgoyne not too happy with that. Just upended and grabbed Obbs as he was going through.
Undisciplined in the extreme, no question about that. Alfie Steed over the top of the ball. His finals form has been terrific. Last week was a blinder. This one towards Chalmers, playing centre half forward. Binky off the flank, drives it deep into Hodges at the pocket. Well, Fleming, Michael, will have his hands full today.
Especially the way that Stephen Williams has set up that forward line. On the bench, there's the bench for Port Adelaide in Obst, Hahn and Darryl Smith sitting there waiting for his chance. But as we're saying, the Port Adelaide forward line, they've structured everybody out of the centre 50-metre circle. Leave Scott Hodges down there to do his best.
Yeah, good move by coach Stephen Williams. Just give Hodges a little bit of space. As we've seen, he's already kicked the first goal of the afternoon. Chalmers high into the forward line. Player there first looked like Binky coming across. Beautifully taken there by the magical Burgoyne. Just hangs hold of the football, gives it to Elman Allen. Elman Allen looks up and sees Alfred Steed by himself in the goal square. Lays the kick out to him. And Steed takes the mark and should go back and bring up the Magpies' second goal.
Set up by Peter Burgoyne, just so elusive, such good skills. One way was cut off. First goal, Alfred Steed. Great finish off the work of Peter Burgoyne. And Alfie Steed very happy to get that easy shot at goal from directly in front.
The thing I like, Michael, too, is as he got up from took the mark, watch him, he just decks Todd Davey, takes the mark and runs into Todd Davey. What about the... There you go. Bang. Is there a message there?
Alfie Steed loves that body contact. There is no doubt about that.
Burgoyne with 6 goals last week. He's very difficult to man up. You've just got to go for the hips. Flicked it around to Ormanell, and the kick was beautiful. As we go back to the middle, 2 goals on the board to Port Adelaide, 1 point to the Redlegs. Harvey tries to go over the top. Tregenza did very well. Pirouettes around, delivers it straight down the middle. One-handed attempt was Chalmers. Now he shoots around the body. It's coming back. Oh, Chalmers, team lift to that one. The crowd liked it.
There's a lot of people here with black and white on, and you're right, David. That is a fantastic start now for Port Adelaide. They've opened out the forward line. They've got 1 goal from Scotty Hodges and 2 just from the structure that coach Stephen Williams has put together. And that's a good finish from Brett Chalmers.
Great opening by the Magpies here. The first semi-final. Football park actually bathed in sunshine. Perfect conditions for football. Brett Chalmers' first goal. That's the Magpies' third. They're now up to a 17-point margin. The ball be bounced 6.5 minutes into this first quarter. Jakes tries to thump the ball, taken on there by Keating. Mad Dog Morgan's at the bottom of the pack. Tries to give the handball out. But Sue J. Cook, just as desperate, keeps the ball in the area.
And there's the Norwood bench. Pascoe, Karslake and Gary McIntosh sitting back, hiding his face. Been a long time since I think Gary McIntosh started on the bench.
Trump card, Mark.
Oh, he'd love to be out there. I'm sure Gary McIntosh loves the heat, loves being in amongst it. No doubt he'll be brought on pretty soon.
Morgan tries to crash through. Clements got him. The umpire said high. Morgan takes the free kick. You can't help but think that the plan for McIntosh is to bring him on when just the pace comes out of the game a little bit. And at that point, he'll be a real impact player. Morgan towards centre-half forward. Binky took front position, couldn't complete the mark. Malloy out the back door. Burgoyne got Obst. Well, the battle of the speedsters. Obst wins this one and delivers it wide to the far side. Neil, who had a shocker last week, needs to find some form today. This is his first possession. Mark and kick to Robert Neal towards Pitt at half forward. Played as a defender for most of the year, but the Redlegs need him in their forward line, and Polton carries it across the line.
It's a very good move from Peter Rowe to put Pitt up in the centre-half forward position. He's just such a strength in the air, and that's really what they've been lacking. They've tried a couple of big bodies there over the course of the season and really haven't generated a lot from centre-half forward. But
you really are robbing Peter to pay Paul, because he's had an outstanding season on the half-back line at full-back this year. And really, I mean, taking him away from that back line, really, I believe it is the wrong move.
Clements. Well, they brought in O'Brien to full forward. Of course, remember that Port Adelaide have brought in Scotty Hodges. What a trump to bring in. O'Brien and West, their goal kickers for most of this year. One on the bench and one at full forward. O'Brien at full forward. And West in the pocket. Correction. And off he goes. Pitt mishandled the handball. Fegan on the left boot. Grubbers one. Tregenza. Well, Downsborough's made his intention clear. He lined him up and missed. Brown, who announced his retirement from AFL football during the week, will settle into a Port Adelaide way. Fleming front position, Hodges over the back. He comes in and collects Lockie Bowman. Fleming did very well. Oh, what great skill, very clever.
Fleming goes wide, finds Huskers by himself. He's going to play a loose up forward. It's in that direction. One of the co-captains in Harvey. Harvey goes forward, 2 bounces, releases the kick up forward, looking for Pitt. Great courage there shown by Brian Lees, the centre-half back, going back with a fly of the football and takes the mark.
Lees looking for another big game following on from last week. Really held the back lines for Port Adelaide together last week. Oh, big fly.
Obst couldn't bring it down. Jakes over the top of it. Keating in ruck. Now, Michael, we talk about the game being won in the middle. Keating and Jakes.
Keating really has to give something. Jakes, we saw last week, was very, very good. Keating has got to get at the body, get at the ball, and really take his marks around the ground. He's a key player for Norwood. If he can get on top of Jakes, they really do have a chance.
Athleticism versus aggression, you might say, in those two contests. Harvey paddled it out. Obst around the corner. Downsborough in the thick of things. Missed it. Doreen with the handball. Cook threads it off. Jack Odie medalist. Cunningham forward. Pitt over the top. The handball was good. O'Brien caught on the left, comes back on the right, snaps her out, gets the red legs first. That's what he's employed to do, and he did his job then.
He did. There was a lot of pressure, though, from the Port Adelaide defenders. Every one of those Norwood players in that chain of about 8 handballs was looking to get the kick away, and there just wasn't the space to do so. Good pressure from Port Adelaide, but finally, just the weight of numbers ended up with O'Brien. He's a goal kicker. Spent a lot of the time out this year with injuries, but he'll be pleased to get that one.
Ferocious start here at Football Park. Christian O'Brien brings up his first major for the afternoon. We're back in the middle of the ground. 11-point margin now to the Magpies. Keating gets his hand on the ball, knocked back by Brown for the Magpies. It goes up again. Quick kick there by Borlase. The player in Clements decides to play on. Should go for holding the ball. He has. Good work. Good start there by Brett Chalmers.
Yeah, Lockie Bowman just thought he was in space. Lack of talk from his teammates. Run down from behind.
Chalmers across to Tregenza. Tregenza laces the ball out. There's a bit of work done off the football by Bowman. Either the mark was taken by Binky or the free kick would have gone further afield. So Binky outside 50. It's a chance to bring up the Magpies' 4th major for the afternoon. He puts it on its way. It's a high ball. Has he got the accuracy? Not much reaction from his teammates as we see the umpire put up one finger. So the first behind support. They're 3-1. They lead Norwood 1-1.
4 goals to Binky last week. 4 goals straight, by the way. Couldn't replicate the dose today. Starts with a point. Fleming warned by the umpire to get it on and does so. Forces out wide. Malloy under pressure from Tregenza. Tregenza did well in the contest. Brown on the boundary line just forces it forward. This is Port Adelaide playing finals football. Hodges around the corner. Morgan, goal. Oh, wasn't Tregenza and Brown terrific? They set it up, and Scotty Hodges has a little bit of finals magic.
The competition from the kick in from those 2 players you mentioned, Dave, was absolutely fantastic. Scotty Hodges was just working out where the ball was going to go. Came to him, and surprising for me, he went towards the boundary line side from that position, but was good enough to pull it back in to that dangerous spot on the ground. And look at that. 2 Port Adelaide players just raffled it, and another easy goal.
Danger size for the Magpies. They really are carrying on from last week's sensational game against Central District.
Yes, Mark, their form was very good last week.
Oh, it is very, very good, and they've started the same way. I hate to say it, but this game looks like it's going to end up the same way it was last week, with the Magpies just showing some sheer domination in every position on the field. Ball ace, looking for the free kick. Sees Harvey duck his head, grabbed him on the jumper, pulled him over.
That was a good tackle in the end, wasn't it, Mark? I mean, could have quite easily got him around the neck. A good call from the umpire.
Ball's bounce. It favours Brown. Brown quickly onto Orman Allen. Orman Allen kicks the ball out, looking for Hodges out in front. Good tackle from behind. The free kick should be paid. It's not. The umpire's called play on Fleming. Comes back to Huskus. Huskus now direct down the middle of the ground, looking up for Downsborough. Over the back with a big punch forward was Vegan. Hard at the football again. The Magpies just sheer commitment to get hold of the football. Comes back to Davey. Davey misses a mark that he should have taken. At ground level is Bamford again across to Burgoyne. Burgoyne doesn't waste too many possessions. That time it was smothered, and Hodges gives away a silly free kick.
Well, I'm not so sure that it's a silly free kick, Mark. I check what you're saying, but I think he's intimidating a few bloke there, Scotty Hodges. Anytime a red leg comes near him, he's going to cream them, and he's making his intention very clear very early, and it opens up a hole for Binky. Not bad ploy from Scotty Hodges. He's just come down the field a couple of times and crunched into a few. And it seems that wherever he heads after that, there's space. Binky fell into the space, Michael, and, well, almost marked.
You would have to say that Norwood's under instructions to run from their centre-half back line, run from their back line, but they really are starting to struggle with getting back. Once there's the turnover on the wing, as in that position, 3 or 4 of their crucial possessions and goals have come from just run.
Binky with 1 point and 4 last week. Bends this one back on the breeze. It's coming back. He likes it. That was a big banana. Went from left to right and did the job.
I'd love to run down there and ask Binky right now, is that the way he pictured that kick coming off the boot when he let it go? He's having a bit of a chuckle about it now, I think.
I think he is. Now watch Scotty Hodges. Bang. Took outside Davey first, or went to. Now comes again. They're the sorts of holes that he just opens up. Watch it this time. We'll just take out another one.
I don't think he likes Davey. At 3 goes and he finally gives away the free kick. But Michael, what a start. I mean, Binky has his first goal. It was the banana ball. Just quickly, I mean, inside 50, we've seen the Magpies have gone forward on 11 occasions. The Redlegs only 4, but the kicks, they've doubled the kicks, the Magpies. And handballs, well, Norwood really are under a fair bit of pressure. They've doubled Port Adelaide.
Carter crashes
beautiful.
through. This is a different Port Adelaide line up to the one we saw just 4 or 5 weeks ago that was insipid. This one is strong and mean and hard at it. Brown around the corner. Davey read it, but fell to the back. Here comes Scotty. Gee, there's a few blokes worried about where he is. By the way, not a bad thing for Port Adelaide. Clements goes back and cedes a little bit of ground. Scotty's just chased down Fleming as well. He's a new man, Scotty Hodges. Obbs punches it away from Tregenza. Doreen looks for support. Alfie Steed got him, creamed him. Now Tregenza lifts the eyes, delivers it up. Binky on 50. Oh, it's all working for Port Adelaide. Now he can kick this from here. He'll have the breeze right at his back.
Just the pressure at the body again. Alfie Steed, he's a junkyard dog. He's just at it, does not stop, caused the turnover. And another shot on goal.
Binky 1 goal, 1 from 55 out. It's within his range, no question about that. Mark Nayley likes it. The Port Adelaide crowd like it. Binky gets his second. This could turn into a massacre if the Redlegs can't fire up and find something. They're playing without passion, the Redlegs, and Port Adelaide are massacring them.
I think we have to go back to Mark Nayley's comment before, robbing Peter to pay Paul with Stephen Pitt into the forward line. Now, I think it's about time that there is some changes down there. Maybe that's one option, to put Pitt back into that back pocket that he's played so well. Centre-half back maybe, but just give some stability to the back lines.
Some changes have to be made. I just think at the moment, you just someone like Robert Neal, who's played full-back, he's played centre-half back this year, needs to be made. That move needs to be made. Also, I think Pitt needs to go back. At the moment, they are getting absolutely slaughtered. The firepower of the Magpies is just too great. As we see a free kick given here, we'll come back to Sue J. Cook.
Got collected high, Mark.
So Cook with Brown on the mark. Puts it on its way. Looks up forward. A good lead by West out front. Got his hands to the ball but couldn't take it. Cunningham roves the ball beautifully. Davies there as well. Extreme pressure from behind by Polton. Just forced, or just enough pressure on the kick to force the error. And a behind is brought up. 1-2-8. Now plays Port Adelaide 6-1-37. So 30-point margin.
The commitment to chase from Port Adelaide is very evident, isn't it? They're just at the opposition every time they have the ball.
And look at this, Rovers marking the ball from a kick out. Norwood certainly are in disarray at the moment. Bourlays from half-back right. Well, there's no contest really, was it? Bowman fell over and going with him was Brett Chalmers. There was just nothing in that. The umpire quite content to let play flow.
Interchange with the ruckman was one of the comments he could have made, was that Keating may have played a bit more defensive action, but Pascoe is going to have that job now.
Seems that Orman Allen has a licence to come over the top of the ruckman and spike the ball. Interesting ploy that Port Adelaide employed, just forces the ball another 25 metres their way.
We've noticed that over the last 3 or 4 times we've seen them play, David, where it's obviously something they work on.
Jakes from behind got his hands to the ball down the throat of Morgan, but he misses it. Good hard work by Port Adelaide. Bourlays fix it up, handballs onto Morgan deep in the pocket. He'll need to square it up. He brings it right round, and look at Alfie. Right underneath that one. Oh, good team discipline.
That was a fabulous kick. I was watching Alfie Steed on the berth because we talked about the lack of commitment from the Norwood players to run back to the defensive side. And we're not going to see it on screen. But Davey, he was running, but there's a difference between I'm running and I really want to get there. He didn't.
So Alfie's got one. He's 25 out directly in front. Oh, this could be a bloodbath. Port Adelaide remember what Norwood did last year in the finals to them, and I think they might be repaying some of it now.
It's time to start having some serious thoughts about what's going on out there from the Norwood bench. 7 goals to 1 and only 19 minutes gone in the first quarter on a beautiful day for football. It's not like there's a wind out there or anything.
Well, these two sides have played twice this year. It was Anzac Day where we saw the Magpies win by 15 points. They played on the lights at Norwood Oval. So the margin went the Norwood's way, and they won by a single point. So this is a great game expected this afternoon. McIntosh, hear the boos from the crowd. Gary McIntosh is about to come off.
Come on.
Come on. He's got me excited, I tell you, Gary McIntosh. He needs to be out there, needs to be amongst this action. Free kicks paid.
It's a fair point, Michael, that Mark's made, isn't it? They just need their midfield restructured, and Mac is the man to do it.
Man of vast experience. Obviously starting on the bench because of the worry about his ageing legs and his lack of pace. But in the close, hard stuff, where Port are dominating right now, that's where McIntosh is so good. And I think it's a good move from Peter Road to bring him on at this point.
Sujay Cook comes off. Macca just gives him a little pat as he runs past. We hear the pro Magpie crowd here because we just wait for Stephen Pitt to come in and put the ball on its way. He does that. It's a lovely kick off the boot. That's his first for the afternoon. And a much needed one for Norwood. They're now 2-2. They still trail the Magpies 7-1.
Yes, badly needed goal for Norwood there. Stephen Pitt, we've talked about sending him down to the back end, but this time got the free kick. Push out.
A headlock.
A little bit high.
A little bit high.
A little bit high. He had him in a headlock.
And a good finish, though. Really badly needed. Now Norwood really do need to get this out of the middle. McIntosh is in there to lend support.
Pascoe in ruck opposed to Jakes. Pascoe will be told to go hard. He does. Ball forces down. Getting kicked away was Brown. Now Doreen throws out a handball. Pascoe's second effort coming at it was solid. Downsborough goes after it, but Jakes off the ground. Clears it wide for the Port Adelaide defence, and Fegan running from half back, drilling it long and low. Binky the target. He's had the better of Huskis early. It's an interesting matchup, that. Binky's had 3 shots at goal for 2 goals won. Brown was upended by Davey just inside the line. Oh, it's out on the full. Everything going well for Port Adelaide. James just came in and attacked the ball, but in doing so, it ricochets off the boot and out of bounds on the full.
But again, David Brown was the target there, and again, watched him run from the middle. He's the one that put his head down and worked the hardest to make the space.
Dragenza plays on. Puts it up forward. Not the best of kicks. The mark should be taken. It is by Lockie Bowman. He's put down the ground. The umpire intelligently just comes in and just puts his foot where the mark should be. It's a kick across ground. He finds Obbs, the speedster. Takes 1 bounce. Takes 2. Will take a 3rd bounce, no doubt. He's got a paddock still in front of him. He decides now to get the ball moving. Unfortunately, the kick wasn't good. And picks out Jared Polton.
The thing I like, Michael, is that Scotty Hodges chased that Damien Obbs for about 80 metres.
He did. There was pressure from the front. Scotty's obviously injury-free for a change.
It's Magpies. They love this time of the year, September. It gets into their veins. They do. They grow another inch taller. Another metre quicker. Comes through. This is Cunningham. He's got a player loose. Defining, which is Cunningham. Ball's knocked back there. Finds Dragenza onto Orman Allen. Which way will Orman Allen go? He puts it high. There's no one up forward. Really wasted the kick. The mark's taken and should be cleared.
That's the defensive action we're talking about from the ruckman. That's something that Keating wasn't doing, and leaving the holes.
What about Sujay coming back on, Michael?
Yeah, he hasn't had a lot of the ball, but I was surprised when he was the one selected to come off to make way for Macca. I'll be interested to see what the reshuffle Peter Road has got to put in now.
I think that was just part of the restructure, because I think they're going to need his pace. Harvey can flick it forward to Malloy. Now, they're ignoring the running player, Nord. I think they're paying for it too, by the way. There's a classic example. Ball goes high and up, and Lee's underneath it. Malloy comes off. Lee flicks it to Fegan. Gee, they're running hard off defence, Port Adelaide, aren't they? Fegan, 2 bounces. Left foot, around the corner, misdirected. And Obbs marks it. Dragenza was the target coming at him, but Obbs just dropped into the hole. Cunningham underneath this one, goes hard at it. Fegan grapples with him, takes him to ground and holds the ball in.
Yeah, fantastic job. I was just watching CJ Cook see where he was going to go. Looks like he's going back into the forward lines. And who have they moved down to cover that half-back flank vacated by Malloy? Look like Scott Doreen moving back to the half-back line.
Scratcher Neal's gone to half-forward flank as well.
Quick kick out, finds Brown. Brown's got the Magpies players running in numbers. Puts it up over the top and finds Burgoyne. Burgoyne also has ball ace. So the Magpies just coming down in a wave of players.
The thing that would worry me if I was Peter Road, Mark, was the fact that the wave of Port Adelaide players were leading. Every one of the players running was leading their Norwood opponent.
Yes, they really have caught them on a hop here. The loser of today's game goes out. We see ball ace. The captain puts it on its way. The Flyers are up. Huskus takes it out the pack. Burgoyne! Up behind.
He's magic, isn't he? How quick was that? Let's have a look at that again. He was just so quick to get his hands on the ball. Ball to foot and almost come up with another goal.
No doubt, very, very clever. Fleming to James. Well, he's got a paddock. Sujai Cook is running into space. The ball's forced out in front. Ormanellan's got a good turn of space, but Sujai just dropped it. And Trent Ormanellan just wraps him up beautifully. Flicks it out the back door. James through. It's 2-on-1. Paddle down to Macca. Held. Tries to crash through. Can't.
Macca is tied up.
2-on-1.
Oh. Macca's bigger. He tried to break free, didn't he? I mean, 10 years ago, Macca would have just careered out of that pack. Oh, he's not happy either. Alfred Steve's giving him one.
Well, I think it's Macca's job to get out there and agitate a little bit and just try and take Port Adelaide's focus off the ball because they're so hard at it. Macca's probably the only one really who can give that to them. Pascoe thumps it down. Ormanellan further down. Macca got Jakes. Now it's James trying to crash through, but Polton gets the ricochet. A high ball to half forward. Brett Chalmers underneath that. Lockie Bowman going back with him. Now it's Burgoyne and Clements. Burgoyne.
How did he get that? Just
Magician.
tell me, David, how did he find that? He was at least a metre behind. The ball somehow slipped out. What's this?
I think he got the ball, 3 rabbits and 4 ribbons out of that same hat.
The kick's back. Looking for big Pascoe. In front is Jakes. Over the back was Ormanellan trying to bring the ball to ground. Bamford's in there. Quickly across the ball. Ace. On to Morgan. Macca's in there. He really is covering some territory at the moment. Alfred Steed has Hodges. Scotty Hodges. One grab. Couldn't take it the second time. Comes up to Fleming.
I like what Clements did. He just backed into the pack and took Scotty Hodges out of the contest. Ormanellan flies. Roger James taken by Ormanellan in the tackle. Now it's Cunningham. It's 2-on-1 every contest, isn't it? Port Adelaide are just getting numbers around the fall of the ball and the Redlegs are being frustrated.
David, I'm just sitting back and enjoying the intensity of the tackling in this game.
Jake's off. Darren Smith on. You might comment where he's going, Michael. Keep your eye on him.
Straight onto the ball by the look.
Okay. James tackled, held, ball up. You're right about this game. I mean, you'd think with a 30-point margin it's just one-sided, but Port Adelaide have been magnificent the way they've gone about it, and the tone of the game is a ripper.
Chalmers moves into the ruck. I think Smith will go to centre half forward. Just giving Jakes. Look at Macca in there. His knees and elbows over every player he comes across. Oh, good mark taken by Clements. Clements has got Huskus. Will he use him? He doesn't. He backs himself. Scotty Hodges has run 35 metres to take on Clements. Nearly got there. Good work by Scotty. Just starting to find a little bit of fitness. Obbs. Huskus again. Huskus gives the handball across the top. Finds Pitt. Pitt's got Doreen by himself. He goes that way. Scotty Doreen inside 50. 45-degree angle. On its way. Great kick. Good build-up by the Redlegs. And a good goal by Scott Doreen.
That was an excellent build-up by the Redlegs. They switched the ball, got out wide. Scotty Hodges supplied the chase, couldn't quite get those old legs onto the tackle. And then Doreen found himself in some space. And this man really does have some finishing skills. A beautifully balanced kick. And another badly needed goal for the Redlegs. 3-2-20, 7-2-44, they still trail.
Green has 21 goals, 10 for the year, to be third on Norwood's goal-kicking list behind O'Brien and West. All 3 players under 30 goals, if you don't mind. It's a long time since we've seen that at the parade. Darren Smith dumps the ball on. Tregenza comes back inside, stolen away by Bowman. He's battling hard at centre-half back. Cunningham, geez, had no time, Cunningham, has he? Every time he's got near the ball, somebody's been at him. This time it was Ormanellan getting him in the back, and Cunningham takes the free. Forces it wide. Gee, that kick took an eternity to come down. Harvey at half forward, inside 50. He'll need to bounce. He does so. Settles, 30 out, closes, shoots for goal. Is this what we want from the Redlegs? It's a comeback. The fans like it, and Harvey gets his first.
He runs and runs and runs, and you just get the feeling, David, that on that occasion there was 2 options for Norwood who had worked down. Maybe the momentum of the game is just starting to turn a little bit.
Tell me if I'm wrong, fellas, but Gary McIntosh is the difference. He's got this side back end running, a little bit of vigour shown by the co-captain and Gary McIntosh. has excited his players around him.
He structured
and
it.
They really are. They're playing for Gary McIntosh at the moment. Ball's bounce. Coming through hard was Downsborough. Crossed to Chalmers, across there to Lees. A chance for Bowman to take on Lees. He does that. Forces the error back to James. Doreen will chip the ball out wide. Now Obbs again's got space. He's got big Pascoe over the top. He finds Pascoe. Turn, big fella. Take a bounce. He does.
Where's Downsborough?
Pascoe twice. Onto his left leg now. Outside 50. On its way. The siren sounds to end the first quarter here. It's the first semi-final. We see the quarter-time scores here. Norwood, 4 goals to 26. The Magpies, 7 goals to 44. An 18-point margin. And really, we have seen a fantastic quarter of football. The Maggies up by 18 points. A sensational start by the boys in the black and white jumpers. The siren sounds. 7-2 plays 4-2. Daniel Jakes back onto the ball. The ball's put down up against Pascoe. Jakes stumps the ball forward. Just didn't quite get his timing right. Cunningham ends up with it. He's pounced upon by the big fella in Morgan. The umpire will come back in and bounce the ball. It's down. Jakes runs in this time. Good work by Pascoe over the top. Ball ace, quick kick forward. Taking front place there with Binky. Intelligent work there by Chalmers across to Brown. Brown comes over the top. Where's Scotty Hodges? Comes out like a steam train. Steam train, Scotty. Takes on Davey. He doesn't like Davey.
Yeah, but to take your hat off to Davey there, that was a gutsy mark.
It's out wide. Lockie Bowman just waits for the ball to sit. Will go over the top to Obbs. Puts Obbs under a fair bit of pressure. He goes back to Cunningham. Cunningham's down looking for Downsborough. Tries to bring the ball to ground. Lays knocked it forward, only as far as Cook. Cook goes over the top. West was robbed of a bounce. Northeast should take it across to Ambrose. He does. Ambrose further afield to ball ace. The Magpies are starting to run from defence. They do that. Ball ace to Davies. Still not quite with it. Alfred Steve finds the bounce right. Good tackle there by Huskus. The ball comes free again. Ball ace is run down. Scotty's given the lead. The Browns there as well. They could have rattled it. There's 2 or 3 players by themselves, and David Brown ends up with it. Yet to kick a goal this afternoon.
Good run again from the Magpies. Way they started the first quarter. David Brown finding some space right in that sweet spot of the ground.
So David Brown directly in front will kick from around about 40 metres. Puts it on its way. A little chip kick, but has the accuracy. The crowd reaction is very favourable. And that's Brownie's first goal for the afternoon.
Yeah. From one end of the ground to the other, the Magpies carried the ball. And in the end, it was Alfie Steed who used his body strength again to push it forward.
A good tackle by Huskus. See Ball Ace. I mean, Ball Ace, he just lifts his eyes. He doesn't waste too many possessions.
24 points the margin as we go back to the middle. Pascoe backhanders it down. Tregenza one step and delivers it towards centre half forward. Big flyer was Burgoyne, couldn't come down with the ball. Brown, who kicked the last goal, runs freely through centre half forward. 2 goals in 30 seconds to David Brown. It's a 30-point margin. Brownie, who retired from AFL football during the week, gets his second.
And that is almost a training drill, isn't it? Get the first quick kick out of the centre, a competition at centre half forward, and the Crummers work to the front of the pack. And a good finish from the veteran David Brown. And he likes that one too.
Just some individual stats in that first quarter. Ball Ace had 10 possessions. Also going down there, we see a lot of players with Brown with 7. Also Beakey with 5 and Bamford with 8. So a great quarter by the Magpies. We're back in the middle of the ground. Pascoe gets his hand on the ball and Redlegs need to respond. Pascoe pushes it forward. Downsborough comes out, needs support. Cunningham's there. Great tackle from behind there by Bamford on Cunningham. Ball ace around his body, finds Tregenza.
They are on John Cunningham. He has had, I think, 6 possessions in the first quarter, and I think 6 of those or 5 of those were handballs. He just hasn't had any space at all.
Downsborough, big fly. Brown, geez, cutting up the red leg defence. Look at that handball to Lees, who's drifted down from centre half back. He can have a shot, Leesy. You'll love this.
Brian.
The life of Brian. Down from centre half back. Handball from Brownie. Brownie is cutting them to pieces, and Leesy gets his first.
And he will be telling stories about that one for days. And they're going to get better. It's going to be further out on a tighter angle into the wind. But it was a good finish.
Well, Wednesday night, that'll be 90 metres out.
Just look at the feeling of the emotion. The emotion at the moment with the Magpies. We just saw the back line when that goal was kicked. They came out, just honestly, I mean, they just shook hands. They just grabbed each other, just realised this game is a finals. We have to win.
6 goals the margin. Jakes thumps it down. Morgan tries to clean up. Brian Lees handballs it away. Pascoe needs support. None forthcoming. Look at Norman Allen. He's almost loping after that. Delivers it long and low towards half forward. Davies done a pretty good job across half back, but Bamford picks up the loose crumb, drives it towards Scotty Hodges. Fleming with superior pace stands and delivers nicely. Bowman, who's trying to provide some run and rebound for the Norwood defence, taking it wide, lifts the eyes and a high bomb towards Downsborough. The big fella comes forward. Lees thumps it down the throat of Carter, and Macca just wrapped him up and gave him one into the bargain. Macca just loves the cuddle.
He does, doesn't he? Just going back to the fullback position there in Fleming, although we've talked a lot about Scott Hodges today, he's looking very dangerous, he's running hard. I still think Fleming's one of the better players for Norwood. He has done a good job to this point.
David, your fingers on the pulse when it comes to SANFL football. Gary McIntosh in season 99, will he pull the red leg jumper on again?
I think a lot depends on the outcome of this match, but he should.
Suljay Cook comes out. O'Brien comes out hard. And a foot race will be on between Northeast. And from behind will be Jimmy West. Jimmy West really has struggled this season after finishing last year the Ken Farmer medalist. He's been unable to find that form. You saw him win that award last year. Northeast has had the shaved head again in preparation for today's game. The ball's thrown in. Brian Lees from behind brings the ball to ground. O'Brien's in there over the top. In there as well as Alfie Steed, the little ginger head player, who really in the last 5 or 6 weeks has been in very, very good form.
And the structure of Norwood of having both West and O'Brien in the full forward line for a game, we haven't seen a lot this year. It's something that the players are just going to have to work through.
Cunningham across to Obbs. Obbs uses the umpire as his shield. Unfortunately, couldn't finish the good work that he created and brings up a behind. Norwood now, they move on to 4-3. They're 27. The Magpies, with those 3 goals in the second quarter, move on to 10-62.
Ambrose from fullback. He's developed as a player over the last 2 seasons. Former Sydney Swans player, looks for Borlase. The skipper doesn't let him down. Good contest, falls to Polton, who handballs it back to Borlase. Ricochet as a player down, Michael behind play. You might just pick who that is, as Carter couldn't get through. Cunningham to Roger James. Polton got in, almost threw that one away. Doreen comes in strongly. Morgan even stronger. Polton around the corner, and Pascoe steals this one away from Carter.
Trying to pick that player up. He's still in the hands of the trainer. You see there in the screen. At the back is Lees using his weight. Downsborough goes back to Cook. Cook should make the distance with his kick. He does! But the mark is taken by O'Brien. So O'Brien will take the kick from outside of the square, just outside the square.
I reckon that player's Pitt, you know.
I think it is Pitt. We'll pick it up in a moment. O'Brien's got 1 so far this afternoon. We'll line up for his second. He does that, puts it on its way, and a much-needed one for the Redlegs.
There's a good kick coming in, and O'Brien, that is his strength above his head. A big, strong lad. He is a big boy. Could probably do with a good pre-season under his belt. But that's the finish he was looking for. A little confidence there. Get that Norwood forward line starting to function. And Stephen Pitt back on his feet.
Christian O'Brien with 2 goals. The only effective forward, Stephen Pitt, who they're really relying on this afternoon. Caught in a sandwich between Borlase and Roger James just a moment or 2 ago. Funny old bounce. Jakes takes charge. Trent Orman-Allen was claimed, but play on, said the umpire. James releases Cunningham with a long bomb towards full forward. Jim West was 3rd string. O'Brien took front position. Here comes Carter. Got one high. The umpire's let it flow. Was the advantage rule applicable? Well, he's let it go, but Obbs just streaks in, tries to keep it in play. Here comes Tregenza. Sujai, good hip and shoulder. Polton tucks it under the arm. Macca was almost cleaned up by Leasy. I was waiting for the sparks to fly in that contest. As Polton goes long and low on the left boot, here's Harvey with pace. Squares it up to the middle and Pascoe sits underneath it. Support comes from Doreen. He should have given it. Oh, now he does, but it might have been a fraction too late. Ullman Allen comes in, cuts it off. Well, first gives the best, isn't it? James bustled off it, northeast through, and Port Adelaide just bullocking away out of defence.
Oh, this is great football here. SANFL, it's live, and it's just great to see. Some great clashes. Ball ace. Another player down on Davey. He really has been taken out this afternoon. He's had Hodges 3 times at him.
I reckon we've seen him in 3 finals, carried off on a stretcher, Mark, Todd Davey.
He's just so committed. He's just, I love watching him play.
I don't think
Not much of him.
I don't think you've seen a more courageous player in the SANFL if they were giving an award.
The example of that was the mark he took before when he got crunched by Scotty Hodges.
Out wide, chance for Ullman Allen with Cunningham or Harvey on his hammer, and also Cunningham's there as well. The Norwood little men just need to start to take control of this game. They're going to get back in and really push the Magpies to the limit. They just need to be able to find Cunningham and Harvey and Gary McIntosh to start to just to get a little bit more of a football.
James to Doreen, midfield Obst. Fair call now. Dry
this contest. This is a great contest, these two.
Tregenza and Obst.
Yeah.
The Roadrunners.
Needed change with Jarks coming off, Darren Smith coming back on.
Just pondering, Michael, sorry to interrupt, that 5 goals down on a day such as this is not a big margin, really, and if the Redlegs can get their running game flowing, Port Adelaide is still a little vulnerable, but the way the Magpies are playing, it's tough, hard football. Polton through, chips over the top. Underneath this one, Borlase, the skipper. He's knocked up getting touches today. He's really led from the front. Fegan, who's playing a fine game from a half-back flank towards half-forward, where Todd Davey has really, I think, got the better of Bamford, frankly, Michael.
You're right. Here's Macca going in hard. Ooh, that's a nasty one. Nothing malicious. Just one of those things in football. One of the things that is worrying me just about the Norwood structure, David, we've got the 2 leading forwards in the goal square in O'Brien and West, but the half-forward players aren't giving them a lot of space. There's no space behind those half-forward players, and it's becoming a little congested down there.
Burgoyne around the corner. Lockie Bowman. Scratcher Neal. He needs to lift his work rate. Huskis, well, he almost looked slow in that contest. Alfie Steed ran him down as he dispatched the kick. Fleming deep in the back pocket. They haven't gained much out of this Norwood, except they still have possession. Now it's Clements.
Huskis is hurt.
No, he's not entirely fit, is he? Obst doing everything he can to lift the Redlegs. A hard ball to Dowsborough, who's upended by Jakes.
Scotty Hodges again, just interrupting quickly there, David. He's run from the forward line again just to get down in that contest and put a little bit of pressure on Obst. Just there, I mean, presence. Just his presence around the pack really does intimidate you. It's down. Lees will go at this. Also James. Neither player been able to keep the ball in. A couple of youngsters here enjoying this football this afternoon.
It's great to see themselves on the super screen at Football Park too, Mark.
Yes, it is. A great screen. Much needed. Now they're talking about extending the grandstand here at Football Park, giving the fans what they want, which is the comfort of being able to sit down and watch football. You see Burgoyne coming off. The Iceman comes on in Scotty Ham.
Bolton over the top, thumps it down. Ullman Allen, a high ball. Who wants this one? Borlase and Neal. Well, Neal read it beautifully.
It's a tough one. It was floating around.
And one kick, one handball to Scratcher Neal. Wide to Huskis, bustled off it by Binky. They're just getting bustled at every contest, the Redlegs. Pascoe couldn't get there. Borlase releases Bamford. Now look at the stats. Bamford's had 7 kicks, Davey 4. Well, perhaps Bamford's working himself into the game. And I've been a little harsh on him. Free kick. Back there.
Going back to the contest on the wing, I think it was Scratcher Neal, or Huskis it was, left his feet, just fell over at a critical time, allowed Port Adelaide to just run away with it.
Tregenza came down to the ball and marked it. He went to punch, but as he punched, it fell into his arms and he was paid the mark. Brownie, gee, hasn't he had a purple patch in this second quarter? 2 goals and plenty of touches. Bowman thumps it down. Neal needs support. Sujai Cook back in the direction of Harvey. The ball didn't sit, and Carter ran him down and wrapped him up beautifully. Gift wrapped that one.
We talked at the start of the game about the intensity of the Port Adelaide players at the body, prepared to get in, hold the ball up. And again, the gang tackle, 2 Port Adelaide players onto the single Norwood. They really are at it.
We just know that Carter will never pull out of a contest. And great courage showing there by Harvey, realising that he had players around him. Now the ball's going forward. Neil puts it on its way, looking for the elusive Cunningham. Not really being favoured by the bounce once again, but he comes up with a Cunningham across to Obbs or to Downsborough. This time it's McIntosh, just chips the ball underground across to Cunningham. Really has got the fits of the fumble as Johnny Cunningham.
And I would say that the body pressure that Cunningham has been under all day is starting to show.
Free kick's been given here. I just want to see what happened. It's Macca's late. I would say a tackle. I wouldn't say a tackle. Maybe just trying to hurt a couple, but he gives away the free kick. And the crowd's not happy, as you can hear in the background.
Port Adelaide crowd, you might say. The Norwood fans love him. Ball A's towards Darren Smith at half forward. Doreen, the loose scrum, just handballed it away. Darren Smith goes after it. The big fella's pretty mobile. Ball A's support, ducks the chutney, dispatches the handball to Morgan. Look at the quick hands. Morgan to Brown, it releases Steed. He couldn't take a clean cut to handball. Tried to find Beaky, but Harvey was good enough to take it away. Streams one out to the far side, just releasing a little bit of pressure. I think the Redlegs will be happy to see the boundary line, Michael.
Just to pick up on what we were talking about before, the physical pressure of Port Adelaide, really, I think there's a couple of times now where Norwood players, they've just got it and thrown it away before the pressure comes.
Healthy crowd here at Football Park to witness the first semi-final between the Redlegs and also the Magpies. James quickly across. A chance here. The Redlegs to go forward. Good kick there by Neil.
Doreen.
Doreen. One of their recruits comes down, this time to Cunningham. What can he do? He's taken high. The umpire calls play on. There really isn't the wars this afternoon. West, with no leg speed, couldn't get away there from northeast. And Fegan quite happily
I think
sees the
Jimmy
ball
West
out
should be
over the
they
line.
should think about a change for Jimmy West. As a matter of fact,
You're calling it now. Malloy to come on.
he just has not been in the game, and his leg speed is found really wanting here today.
Great to see some of the past players sitting in the front of the grandstand. Plenty of recruiting scouts from the AFL as well, as Malloy slaughters that one. Gee, are there anything other than a die-in-the-wool Port Adelaide supporter? That guy, see him here every week, just doesn't miss a match. We're 16.5 minutes into the second quarter. It's a 29-point margin in favour of Port Adelaide. The Redlegs have got time to get back into this game. Downsborough took front position, almost took the mark, handballed it forward. Trent Ormanell and thumped it down the throat to Jared Bolton. Comment Mark Daly, we'll get to you in a minute. Carter forward, and the Iceman marks it.
Well, McIntosh is just about to lose his temper. We saw him, I think it was preliminary final in 1997, take on Stewie Dew. No doubt he will take on someone this afternoon. Brian Lees for his second goal of the afternoon. Didn't make the distance. The little Alfie Steed brings up his second or his third. So dynamite, the little gingerhead Alfie Steed is on fire.
Skill error from Todd Davey, just letting the easiest of marks slip through, and when you drop them, you're allowed to drop them to the front, but dropping them to the back is critical. And Alfie Steed worked so hard to get to the fall of the ball. Good finish.
3 goals from 5 kicks for Alfie. Pretty fair effort. 11-2 to 5-3. We're 18 minutes into the second quarter. Port Adelaide taking a handy lead as Chalmers brought into the ruck. He started the game at centre half forward, but Obst and Tregenz has been a battle royal out there today. Pascoe back to Obst in the double play, and a long shot for goal. It'll drop short. Pitt couldn't quite get there, and it's through for a point.
And Peter Road has pushed Macca forward now, going to start on the half-forward flank, match up on Carter. Maybe as a defensive ploy more than anything to stop the run of Carter.
Just between Obst and also Tregenz, we see Obst has had 14 possessions up to this stage. Tregenz has had 11, so great clash or contest between those two players.
Who's been more effective? Michael, we might put you on the spot. Downsborough to Harvey, squares it up and puts it back. Well, haven't they made Port Adelaide pay? Ambrose's kick was an absolute shocker. and Harvey gets his second.
I enjoy the way that Ambrose plays fullback. I think he has some excellent defensive skills, but a couple of times over the last few weeks we have seen him have a couple of those from the kick out. One down at Alberton, we saw him kick the turf and fail to make contact with the ball.
And an airy.
You just can't afford to do that when you're playing in such a critical role. But the clash on the wing, look, they're both at it, they're both good players, but Obst, I think, is one of the players that's actually keeping Norwood somewhere still in touch.
Back to a 28-point margin. We see ball ace, left leg, gets it out. Come across to Obst, wants the gain, starting to find the football. Huskus can tell he goes over the top. Cunningham is having absolute horror run.
And you tell me that he wasn't worried. Sorry, Mark. You tell me that John Cunningham wasn't worried about the attack there.
He may be. Pit from behind. In front there was Carter. Also Feagit. The free kick goes back to number 15 and Jared Polton.
Just reckon Cunningham lost the ball in the sun, Michael, because you couldn't question his commitment his whole career.
Oh, definitely not. It's just
not a player you'd ever question his commitment. Just reckon he completely lost that one in the sun. To be fair to Carter. Oh, great mark, Clements. Well, if Norwood can get out of this, it'll be one of the great escapes of all time, because Port Adelaide have dominated, but they're only down by 28 points and still attacking the Redlegs, so they're showing great character and heart. Chalmers toe pokes it towards the boundary line. Gary McIntosh comes in, he'll try and clean him up. Chalmers was a little nimble. Ball lays, Chalmers, clever handball. Feagit, Malloy got him, didn't he? And you could just sense that the Redlegs are just firing up a little bit. James caught on the wrong boot. Jumped himself out of play, if you don't mind, but you just sense the Redlegs are finding something that they didn't have in the first quarter.
I'm not sure what the stats on the 50-metre entrance were at quarter time, but they're starting to even up 22 to 32 now, and they're well. 12-11 this quarter to Norwood, so you're right, David.
They're back in it. They're not going to lay down on the Redlegs. The reigning premiers. We see Huskus comes in, puts it high up forward. Coming out hard as O'Brien. He's there. He takes a good mark at grass level. And
Polton's dirty, Michael, isn't he? He wasn't called into the contest.
That's right. And that's the space we were talking about behind the half forwards for Norwood, to allow the leading players in O'Brien, and it was West, there's been a change there, allow them the space to lead into it. That's where they're going to get their opportunities at goal. O'Brien has one right now.
But all Ambrose had to do was call Polton in, and Polton would have been happy to take the contest.
We don't call players back. He's there.
No, that's the rule. Hey, don't you worry about that. The rule is call the player back. Don't worry about that.
O'Brien, 45 metres, directly in front, puts it on its way. A beautiful kick. That's his third. Christian O'Brien. The Redlegs are still just hanging in there at the moment.
Yeah, I think Norwood's forward structure.
Now, Michael, you've played in top sides. Is the rule not to call the player back who's coming back? He's uncertain, Polton. All he had to do was be called back to the contest by Ambrose and he would have come.
I've played in a couple of teams where the rules have changed. It's up to the coach in what he said his structure is, but I guess it's one that you might take back.
Everyone I've ever played in, you had to call the player back. Don't worry about that. And Carlton, which was your rule, Mark, you played there, that was the golden rule. And Sujai Cook inside 50. Norwood are finding a little something. Dragged off the contest. Play on, said the umpire. Feagit from half-back. Oh, look at the kick. Brownie swallows it and he takes off. Little short jab at it. Underneath this one, Obst, who's come onto the field, gets collected by Lockie Bowman. Looks for a 50, but it's not forthcoming. We are 22.5 minutes into this sudden death first semi-final. The first time these sides have met since 1958 in a first semi. McIntosh, Davey, goes to the back door. Fleming needs support. Scotty Hodges was rounding him up like a sheepdog. To the far side it goes. Huskus over the top again. Lachlan Bowman has been their dominant player in defence and playing pretty well too. Pascoe has a paddock. Off goes Scratcher Neal. Neal on the lead. Well done. He led right to the boot. Carter couldn't quite go with him, but runs him down beautifully. Cunningham. Alfie Steed. Oh, that was a great contest. Downsborough. Now Pascoe. Brian Lees relieves the pressure nicely.
Oh, Carter just chips the ball forward. Finds Trent Orman-Allen. Orman-Allen over the top will find Binky. Binky's taken well there by Bowman. The umpires paid the mark. Or the free kick. Quickly Binky across to Brown. Now Brown will put the ball inside 50. Smith uses his body. And Huskus couldn't possibly be happy with that result.
Now what's that?
I have no idea. I'm not going to comment because Smith was trying to push back. Huskers was trying to just hold his ground, and the umpire has just given away an opportunity here for the Magpies to bring up another goal, which is ridiculous. Let the game flow. Ticky-touch free kicks has come in. Smith from 48. It's high ball. He's got the distance. He's got the accuracy. And the goal should never have been given.
I agree with you, Mark, but on the whole, today and the whole season, I've been really impressed with the South Australian umpires, the way they've gone about letting the ticky-touch foot free kicks go.
Yeah,
the crowd enjoy.
Yeah, Peter Road, you'd blew about that one, wouldn't you?
Oh, you wouldn't be happy with that one. That one in particular, if we're going to be specific. I think there was a mistake there, but
yeah,
on the whole, compared to the big league, as they call it, I think the South Australian umpires do a fantastic job in interpreting the rules for the benefit of the game, as opposed to just looking at the technical.
Agree with your comment, but I don't think there was more critical free kick in this match than that one. And Borlase feeds it out to Brown, who was run down by Opt. Opt's doing everything in his power. Steed got it from Orman Allen. Well done, Fleming. Oh,
he's playing well.
Well, that was just sensational. It's time for a bounce in traffic, if you don't mind, but he needs some support. Wide, it's Harvey. Over the top, he can go to Doreen. Doreen's running. Support coming from Huskers. He'll just try and apply the shepherd and a little bit of intimidation. Not a bad ploy at this stage of the match. Neil did well in the contest to Carter. Please.
Cunningham.
Oh, he's just magnificent.
They are on John Cunningham today.
Leasy. Loves the big occasion, Mark, doesn't he?
Oh, he does. Loves being in the limelight as well. The umpire will throw the ball back in. It's in the Norwood's half-forward line. It's down to Cunningham. In there is Polton, one-handed. Somehow got the kick out.
Just thinking, Mark, whether Brian Lees can sing and dance, because just loves the big stage.
Really does love the big stage. The ball will be thrown in. Chalmers will be up against Downsborough. In there also, you'll see Neil at the back. Steed. Another possession to Steed. Across to Degenza. Across to Brown. Back to Degenza. They're running hard. The Magpies. Across to Brown. He'll go over the top. Take the bump. He rides it over to Obbs. Obbs outside 50. On its way. Good work by Beaky on Huskers and takes the mark.
That's good body strength, isn't it?
Inside 5 metres.
What about the Binky Huskers contest, Michael?
Let's have a close look at it.
Generally throughout the day.
I like the way Binky plays football. I think I said last week, it's just unfortunate.
And Binky puts it through. Brian Binky, that's his third.
So it's just unfortunate that the way he plays his football, that God didn't give him those 3 or 4 extra inches, because he has fantastic hands, good body strength and a lovely kick. He can kick a goal from outside 50, but when he's coming up against guys that are 3 and 4 inches taller than him every week, he really does have his work cut out. But if he can get a jump at the ball, lovely catch.
Brian Binky in a milestone game, playing his 50th game for Port Adelaide this afternoon, gets his 3rd goal. A 6-footer who plays very tall and takes a great grab. Dead heat in ruck, or perhaps Chalmers it was who won that one. Down the throat of Sujai Cook, who's wrapped up by Borlase. We are 27.5 minutes into the 2nd quarter as Morgan receiving some treatment from the physio on the boundary line. Just think at 34 points, Norwood aren't out of it, but Port Adelaide are playing just such a grand game of football. It's hard to see the Redlegs getting back.
Next goal will be very important. If it goes the Redlegs' way, they'll have a chance. They just can't allow the Magpies to score the next major. It's come up forward again in front. Is Beaky, and he talked about that extra inch. I think he found it there, Michael Parsons.
He's 6 foot tall.
He's just got great hands. I mean, it's just clean. It's just a crisp grab of the football.
Well, they've moved Huskers away from Smith, who's now picking up Beaky, and Beaky's kicked the last 2 goals. Yes! Brian Beaky, 4 up to half-time with tremendous effort. We're 28.5-minute mark into the 2nd quarter.
I'd like to see the goal umpire's decision and then just quietly, because not one person behind the goal showed any positive emotion, and that's the Port Adelaide section of the crowd.
Let's have a look.
Beaky, that's a tremendous kick. He kicked it from 50 metres.
Comfortably in, I would have thought.
46 plays, 86, 29 minutes in, a 40-point margin. Pascoe thumps it down. Lachlan Bowman tries to toe poke it forward, but it was Bamford who grubbers one into the Port Adelaide forward line. Davey bounces, needs support. Oh, well done, Burgoyne, to run him down. The kick goes forward. Obst. Leslie had a purple patch in the second quarter, finding plenty of the ball. Really responsible for keeping the Redlegs in this one. Macca underneath this one with Carter. Carter just too strong, read it beautifully. Now he's got support. Obst squares it up. Now that's how confident Port Adelaide are, if you don't mind. Square it up with a short kick right in front of the Norwood goals. Out to the far side, and it's Chalmers dropping one. Gutston. Toe poke from northeast out of Sujai Cook's hands, and Trent Orman-Allen wraps up Malloy, but the free kick's coming back.
He just held CJ.
In danger, was it?
Yeah, kicking in danger.
Fair enough. So the chef towards O'Brien. One bounce, couldn't quite take it. The siren sounds. Well, what a good quarter it was, that term. Norwood kicked 3 goals, 2. Port Adelaide kicked 7 goals straight, if you don't mind. It's a 40-point margin at halftime in the first semi-final. You're watching all the action on ABC Sport. Second half underway from Football Park of the 1998 first semi-final. The loser is finished in 1998, and the Redlegs trail by 40 points. What a big contest it's going to be in the second half if the Redlegs are to get up and win this one. Bamford misjudged it, couldn't quite control it. Cunningham dives hard over the top of the ball. Bamford dives on top. Neil claimed him, but the handball came from Bamford to Darren Smith, who started the game on the interchange bench, has gone centre half forward. Oh, Binky! Great start, Magpies, into the second half, and Binky gets his 5th.
Brian Bilkey, I hope it's your birthday. That won't just fill his up. He's played a great game in the first half. 7 marks in the first half of this game. First thrust forward in the second half. Ball falls to Binky, and a good finish, and he's happy with it.
It's a big finish and a big start, and that's exactly what Port Adelaide wanted. You just suspect that might kill them off, Mark, as we go to a minute into the third quarter and the bounce down. Well, the Redlegs need to recover from here. Neil. Downsborough in ruck, opposed to Chalmers. Chalmers with 2 bites at that cherry. Darren Smith off the ground. Oh, good night, Redlegs. Burgoyne misses. Ooh. I reckon if that were gone through, just takes the entire wind out of the Redleg sail.
Yeah, the hammer was poised over the nail in the coffin. Burgoyne just to the left-hand side.
Yeah, what's he got, Burgoyne? 2 points after 6-2 last week.
Only about 7 possessions in the first half.
Fleming brings the ball back in. Down to Borlace. They'll go forward again, the Magpies. The kick not controlled. Alfred Steed, who's been absolutely sensational this afternoon, brings to the top of the square. Coming back hard was Robert Neal, who punches the ball through. They're a rush behind. So the Magpies now, they move on to 15-4. Norwood 7-4.
It's a good skill, isn't it, to be able to kick around the corner and get it right into the critical sweet spot in the ground.
Fleming, who's done a pretty good job on Scotty Hodges. Scotty Hodges has won after coming back from that ankle injury, but look at this, Obst, 48 metres out directly in front with the breeze at his back. It's a slight breeze. Obst started on the interchange bench. What a wonderful career he's had. Venturing to Melbourne, back to finish his career with the Magpies. Their loyalty rate for the Magpies is very high. And look at this, Scotty got it right on the chest. And don't Port Adelaide look a different team when this fellow is presenting himself at full forward.
And he's done that today particularly well, David. He hasn't had a lot of possession at this point, only kicked the 1 goal, but he really has run hard. He's physically intimidated his opponents. And now a chance.
Kick number 3. But he certainly has done the hard work at full forward. 1 step, looks up, and it's through. Well, Scotty Hodges, welcome back.
We talked half-time, David, about the possibilities of Norwood getting back in this game, the things they would have to do. Probably what we didn't say is that Port Adelaide didn't need to get the first 2 goals within 3 minutes. Really is a tough ask now for Norwood. They have to do something special. Got to get some run through the midfield, and they have to get one of their leading forwards to take some marks, kick some goals.
Scotty Hodges' second goal. Who could ever forget Scotty Hodges' preliminary final 2 seasons ago? One of the most magical moments you'll see in football. Kicking a miraculous goal tucked in the northwest pocket to put Norwood out of the grand final. Oh, it was a bit of vigour, a little bit of emotion coming into this game.
Way too late.
Far too late. Fleming, who hyperextended his elbow last weekend. We see Keating has been very disappointing this afternoon. Without a kick, with only 1 handball. Smith used his body work to Clements. He goes for the boundary line. Cunningham should get there. He's taken, or pushed over by Binky. As we see Downsborough coming off, and Big Aaron Keating coming on and going into ruck.
The Redlegs will need a lift from Keating. You just wonder where they're going to get a lift from. Where's the spark going to come? Could it be O'Brien at full forward, or perhaps Keating finding something in ruck? Burgoyne around the corner. Well, he's played at that one. Just a point. 3 points to Burgoyne. Well, isn't football a funny game, Michael? 6 goals 2 last week, 3 points today, and he hasn't really looked like he's going to take this game apart.
No, he's actually spent some time on the bench as well, so not quite falling the way the Cards did last week, but still on Norwood's forward structure. We see Huskus has gone to centre-half forward, so an interesting move from Peter Road for the All-Australian defender.
Scotty Carslake's come on. Not much of him, but he will present himself. It's a good kick by Carslake. Good 50 metres. Now, players opting not to go for the football, but go for the body. Finally ends up with Cunningham. The Cunningham puts it high. Malloy's down there. He should be able to take it. Goes out wide, trying to find Obst. This time it finally ends up with Obst. He'll take on his opponent in Bamford. Just outside 50, puts it on its way. Big Pascoe. Lenny Pascoe takes the mark. Point blank range.
He's been good today since he came on. Started on the bench. Came on and gave a little bit more defensive action from the rucking position. Got himself into some base a couple of times and contributed to a couple of Norwood goals.
Now Pascoe's come back, Michael, about 40 metres to take this kick. He's only about 3 metres out. He'll kick from around about 20. If he misses this, I'll run a lap of football park naked. He doesn't. Thank God for that.
Thank God
Lenny Pascoe.
That's a very brave call. Nails doing it just after he'd kicked the ball.
And he's 3 metres out.
That's 1 back for Norwood. They still really need to get some run, get a couple more quickly to bring some interest back into the scoreboard of this game. But the interest really has been how good Port Adelaide are.
So I think that's the comment, isn't it? Port Adelaide have dominated everything. They led by 18 points at quarter time, 40 points at half time. And you just suspect that the Redlegs are rattled by the vigour and desperation that Port Adelaide have shown. They've been bustled off the ball, the Redleg runners. That's been important. Chalmers thumps it down. Here comes Clements. Couldn't crash through the pack. The umpire said no prior opportunity, so he'll have a bounce. 7 minutes into the third quarter of this, the first semi-final. Port Adelaide will go on and play the loser of West Adelaide and Sturt next week, you would suspect. And with emotion running high, I would not like to be the loser of the second semi-final.
Port Adelaide have been very good, David, over the last 4 or 5 weeks of the regular season.
Chalmers down to Darren Smith, drills it long and low. Hodges was the target. Fleming claimed him, takes him to ground. The handball flicks out. Scotty reckons he was held. Over the top, here comes Darren Smith. What can he do with it? Turns around on the left, delivers it back, concedes a little bit of ground. Borlase gets there, 35 out, tight angle, tries to bend it back, but he can't. It's a point to the skipper. Possession, was that 21 possessions? Gee, you think about Borlase, Michael, and he just keeps racking them up.
He does. He just works so hard. He runs to the contest. He makes space in the midfield. And he really, you don't notice a lot of his possessions. He's just there. A lot of in-close stuff.
50-point margin now to the Magpies. They'll go forward again to Rubinki. gives it across to Carter. Carter just physically too strong for his opponents this afternoon. In trouble, ball ace. Chips it forward. Fleming comes up and goes around Burgoyne. Back to Pitt, who's been moved back into the back line. He'll come wide trying to find Clements. So Clements, half back line, comes down the grandstand wing. Keating needs to get there. Alden Allen, who's just got the ability to be able to jump from nowhere and jump high. Polton keeps the ball in. So does Malloy, and so does the Cook. Finally, Malloy concedes the ball out over the boundary line.
Michael, I don't think Aaron Keating's fit. There's no way. He's just jogging behind the contest.
And again, there I noticed the same thing, Dave. He's just standing 10 to 15 metres off the contest and watching.
He's not possibly fit. Because if he is fit, this will be his worst performance, I think. And you just suspect that Borlase bustles him up. And look, he just passively, Darryl Borlase just gave him a big push to the chest. He just put his arm out. You know, crikey, you'd hope you're having a lot better contest, wouldn't you? He can't be fit, Keating. There's no question that he's fit.
Chalmers. Sorry, David. Chalmers knocks the ball. Comes down to Malloy. In there with Tregenza. Just cleverly keeps possession of the football. Back to Keating. What can Keating do? He backs himself. Takes on 4 opponents. Couldn't get through. Back to Cunningham. Cunningham's got a high ball. Where's Huskus at the back? Gives away the free kick. The umpire calls play on. Cook down to Harvey. Harvey around his body. It's high into the forward line. Where's Pascoe? It's not there. Northeast takes it, his opponent, and goes for the boundary line. Will it make it? I don't think it will. I think Ops will get there before it goes out. Great kick to touch there by Northeast. Just finds the line. And the boundary umpire will come in and throw it in. Half forward line for the Redlegs.
10 minutes into the third quarter of the first semi-final. It's Norwood trailing by 50 points. Port Adelaide have been magnificent this afternoon. Keating wins this one. Throws it down the throat of Roger James, but is it Ops? I think it is. Who just gathers it in and makes a dead heat of the contest. Umpire Humphreys tries to sort the players out. You just sense that some emotion running high up there. The Redlegs would have fancied themselves in this match. Alfie Steed being spoken to by umpire Humphreys. And Keating, well, what's in the eyes, Michael?
He needs to find something in his body. I'm not sure what's in the eyes, but he really hasn't had any influence on this game at all.
Let's see what the attack's like. Chalmers vigorously high over the top. Alfie Steed and Obbs. That's the contest you want. Cunningham, loose scrum, drives it forward. Here comes Ambrose in front of O'Brien. Marks it at centre-half back. Where's the leads coming from? Elects to go out wide. Steed's out there. The target is further afield, though. The long target is Binky. Pitt did very well. Steed. Centre in front, roved it superbly. Drives it long to Darren Smith in front of Bowman. This fellow's looking like he's 18 again. Chips it up short. Here's Brownie. Purple patch in the second quarter. He kicked a couple of goals and set up a couple more. A high bomb underneath this one. Binky got back quickly. Steed couldn't quite rove that one. Now it's Cunningham to relieve the pressure for the Redlegs.
Not for long as it finds ball ace. Quick exchange of handballs, ends up with a ruckman and Chalmers. Chalmers can see Hodges by himself. Scotty takes it. Umpire calls play on. Back to Davey. Davey comes wide and should find Clements.
No,
it's Carslake. Carslake back to Davey. Davey will just settle things down now. Gets his head around quickly. Looks for Keating. He's got Huskus short. He goes that way. Huskus over the top. Doreen playing around this football, going very indirect, the Redlegs. Finally ends up with Robert Neal. Neal looking for a short kick. They should go long and strong. Keating's giving the lead. This time it's called play on. Good smother by Obbs. It will come back to Neal. Neal just chips it forward again, finds Cunningham. Cunningham quick to play on. Will go to the top of the square. Pascoe's, he got the body to take on Northeast. He hasn't. And Carter will see the ball through. Another rush behind to Norwood. They're now 8 goals, 5-53. They'll trail by 51 points. The Magpies 16-6, 102.
You have to admire the way Paul Northeast goes about your football, don't he? Very, how do you say, lacks the thrills that go with some players, but he's just at it, he's dogged, he's hard. and he does the job.
I think that's why Port Adelaide love him in finals. Borlase fires another one to Lees. Lees brings it inboard to Ives. There is some great experience out there for Port Adelaide. And just sense that they're getting more dangerous by the moment. Tregenza from half forward. Gets
he's
Pell.
played that.
What do you reckon?
The Academy Award for the afternoon goes to Simon Tregenza.
Must have hurt him because he hasn't leapt off the ground, has he?
Look at this. 1, 2, 3. Then grabs his head.
He got clobbered in the back of the neck. You've got to let the umpire know. I tell you what,
he said it was good acting.
He's had a terrific game. 16 possessions already. We're only 13 minutes into the third quarter. And Brian Binky, we'll talk about games. He's kicked 5 goals, 1 after 4 straight last week. His finals has been outstanding. And this one, the umpire squares it up, likes it, the crowd likes it. 6 goals to Binky in a match-winning performance.
And it's about time for Stephen Williams to cast the mind further forward, I would say. Port Adelaide have got this one wrapped up. He can start preparing for next week.
You're suggesting he freshens up a few blokes?
Oh, it's an option, isn't it? Mind you, I don't think there's too many out there that would need it. They're just so well balanced. They've got experience. They've got strength. They've got a focal point in attack now with Scotty Hodges recovering from the ankle. They're a very good football team.
Well, they're working their midfield very intelligently as Stephen Williams. He's got options up his sleeve. He's got Bamford, he's got Brown, he's got Orman Allen, he's got Obbs. Also got Tregenza, Polton, Burgoyne, and also Alfred Steed. So you've got a list of around about possibly 10 players that he can rotate through the middle. Really is causing headaches for the Redlegs hierarchy.
David, we've seen a couple of the AFL coaches here today, and just between you and me, I don't think Alfie Steed is doing his chances of going up a little higher at all.
No, okay, picking one out for the boys. Huskis and Lees. Oh, Lees grabbed the jumper. The umpires picked up the infringement. So Huskis just catching Lees out for a little bit of pace, you suspect. That's not a bad coaching ploy by Peter Rode. Dumps the ball on, and Lees knows that he can't go with Huskis for pace, so he grabs the jumper and the free. Off hands, northeast, Carter. Oh, bustling work by O'Brien. Great work, Polton. What great work. Thumped it in, picked it up and handballed in the one motion. Now it's Bigot released. Off half back right. He can come in board, does so successfully to Orman Allen.
Too easy, they're playing with him.
You like that, Mark?
Oh, this is just playing. They're playing with him, David.
Burgoyne at half forward. Oh, Bigot got decked by Malloy behind, and at least there's some fire in the game. Binky, 6-goal man, make it 7. He'll just go back and steer this one through.
Now that was ridiculous, Michael Parson. They're running down the members' wing, just basically trying to drag the play. It's your turn to have a touch, my turn to have a touch. Just give it back a few stats. Finally ending up with Binky. And look at the player, get a shot of that in the middle of the ground by the SNFL sign. You just see the Port Adelaide players are just mingled together. They're in group, they're in numbers, they're playing with emotion, they're playing with feeling, and they're playing really as a team that wants to win another flag for the Port Adelaide side.
6 goals to Binky, make that 6 goals too. I said he kicked his 7th, and it just goes to show you.
Still got to kick them. You've still got to kick them. But no, you're right, Mark. Coming down the outer wing there, it's just amazing what a little confidence can do, isn't it?
109 plays 53. Scotty Doreen will bring it back in. Which way will he go? He looks for Keating. Keating looks sideways. Bowman's pushed out, received the free kick. He will. Now Gary McIntosh sitting on the bench. Possibly not the best move of this side. They need something in that midfield. You'd have to say that Gary McIntosh wouldn't pull out of a contest. He would. Things got tough. He would upset a few players out there. Cook, Scott, it's got runners forward, and Harvey. Harvey inside 50, on its way. Unfortunately, hasn't got the direction or the accuracy. And brings up behind. So that's his second goal.
He's kicked 2 goals.
Kicked 2. He's kicked 2 goals, 1.
Yes. They need him firing, don't they? Oh, Carslake, well done. This might result in a goal. Well, just a little bit of pressure and it's out of bounds on the full.
Yeah, disappointing result there for Carslake. Really had an opportunity to start something rolling for Norwood, because they need anything they can get right now.
Polton just upended him just as he got away the kick.
Polton's had a fabulous game.
Here he is again, finding plenty of the ball, Polton. He one of their tough little nuts too. Obst over the top. He's going in slow motion. Obst just enjoying this. Tregenza. A little bit of urgency to Darren Smith, Lockie Bowman. Now, I like the way Darren Smith's played on at every opportunity today. Around the corner he goes. Pinky, chest mark. Scotty Hodges roved it. Fell into his own man in Lees. What's Leesy doing down there? And Burgoyne misses 4 points. 4 points to Petey.
Not having the same luck this week. You asked what Lees was doing now. That's the 3rd time in a row.
I'll keep going. I've seen Brian Lees. Every time the Magpies army goes forward, Lees takes off, really works over his opponent. He's had his 3rd opponent for the afternoon, and now he's on Huskers. It won't be too long. I don't think Huskers will be moved. It's brought back in. Again, the Norwood players can't get their hand to the ball. It's great work by Chalmers over the top to find Brown. James ends up with it. Keating goes backward and finds Cunningham. Now, the ball's high. Tallest player there was Malloy, couldn't get near it. And Jared Polton, also another player I'm sure the talent scouts from the AFL clubs would have to be looking at, because his game has been very good as well.
Brett Chalmers. He had an interesting career, but he dominates at this level. Burgoyne, 2 hands to it, couldn't quite gather it in, flicks it out, but stolen away by Robert Neal. Short ball finds Macca, who's back on the oval. Now Cunningham forced to go wider still. Neal, a high bomb. Who wants this? Polton, first man underneath this one. Unsettled by Sujay Cook, but it's Fegan mopping up the loose crumb, going into the midfield and Gaules.
And that's the 3rd time in a row that Norwood have gone forward with an absolute bomb.
Bamford to Binky. Oh, you can't help but get stirred by what's going on out there, can you? Port Adelaide looking like a premiership contender now. Their season's been pretty ordinary. 12 wins and 8 losses. Really not their defining year. But look at them now. As Binky goes back and kicks a point. It is 6-3 as David Brown comes off and Morgan comes back on.
And Binky just starting to tarnish a fabulous game with the last 2 shots at goal. We really wanted to write to Mum about if he had to put those last 2 away. 8 goals before 3/4 time.
Harvey, a good mark, quickly gives it across to Davey. Davey down the members' wing will find Cook. So Sujay in minded very closely this afternoon by Jared Polton. Lees is there at centre-half back, just in front of Aaron Keating. Quite content to see the ball out over the line.
Again, Brian Lees hasn't dominated today, Mark, but he's done a fabulous job at holding the back line together, hasn't he? Supplying the run and the strength.
Perfect weather here at Football Park. The Oval Football Park, that is, looks an absolute picture. Credit must go to the groundsman here, Jamie Butterfield and his staff. Just compare it to what we saw yesterday at the MCG. A little bit of rain did cut up the turf there in Victoria. Here, perfect playing conditions for SANFL football.
Can't believe they'd have a cricket pitch in the middle of the MCG.
It is the Melbourne cricket ground. A little bit of sarcasm coming into David Mackay.
It is tough on them, isn't it, with a cricket? We haven't got a cricket pitch here, and the Oval stands up pretty well. But you're right about the condition of Football Park. At this time of year, it's an absolute treat.
The Butterfield families really have been the only caretakers here.
It's a dynasty, isn't it?
Overseen the growth here at Football Park. They've seen some changes and seen some developments.
Hope they've planted another Butterfield for the next 50 years. Oh, Ambrose, good mark. Great mark, backing back into the pack. That is a ripper. Fine, courageous overhead mark, and dry conditions bringing out the best skills. Little push.
Back.
Yep. Love the way you're a commentator and an umpire, Mark.
Sorry, David, I get very involved in seeing Port Adelaide play Nords. Great couple of traditional clubs. Really does get your blood boiling. Oh, Macca.
You think back to last year's grand final when Norwood won by, what, 73 points. And you can't believe these are the 2 clubs that went about that, because Port Adelaide have just turned it right around. Scotty, push, shove, no mark. Neal flicks it out the back door. Harvey inboard to Doreen, 2 bites of the cherry. That's been Norwood's way for most of the day.
Referring back to that team of last year, they do have, or have lost an amount out of the midfield with Andrew Jarman and Stephen Rowe, both retiring. And also the form of their forwards, both James West and O'Brien, been injured this year, really has detracted from their form.
Ball's bounced. Smith with a big hit forward. Only goes as far as Lachlan Bowman. He goes to ground, will be taken by Hodges. And also Obst. The umpire will come in and ball up. As we said before, a good crowd here to witness the first semi-final. Good crowd also just waiting for the second semi-final played between West Adelaide and also the Double Blues. Binky comes in. Morgan over the top. Davey comes down with it. Harvey taken quickly by Hodges. Concedes the behind. Another rush behind. Receives 8-6 now, plays 17-10. A little bit of feeling. Macca is just starting to lose his composure. Hodges comes in to help out. The umpire says, fellas, I'm playing the game on. Bring it in, Scotty Doreen.
Quickest way of sorting them out. Keating to Neil. And if this is Gary McIntosh's last game, it might be time for him to swear a few away.
The thought would never cross his mind, David.
No, I'm sure it wouldn't. More than 5 or 6 times. O'Brien through. Cunningham couldn't get through. Orman Allen. Carslake, well, he had to work hard to get around, didn't he? And in the finish, he didn't quite. Orman Allen. Well, I like the way he's played at halfback today too. Strong and tough and rebounding. A long, wide ball. Burgoyne, target, brings the ball to ground. Davey couldn't quite go with him. Touches it to ground. Needs support. In the finish, he goes alone and delivers it long and low. Biggie was the target, but Neil marked it.
I was about to say there, the understatement you just said then is Burgoyne needs support. Went alone and did it easily. Obbs will back himself. He comes through the middle of the ground, inside the 50-metre square, kicks it up forward. At the back is Ambrose, in front was O'Brien. Lees is there, tries to apply the kick, couldn't get there. Huskus is taken by 32 in Northeast. Ambrose pleading to the umpire for holding the ball decision. The umpire is quite content to blow the whistle and come in and ball it up.
Speculation, Michael, on Adam Huskus's future.
Yes. Could have been going back over the border. That's a rumour.
It's a rumour, isn't it? James on the left boot, misses to the left. Interesting point that I think his form's been a bit indifferent this year, but I don't know that Port Adelaide would give him up terribly easily.
All Australian only 12 months ago. So, you know, the form has been down, but you really have to get through the slump, so to speak.
You'd have to get back to Michael O'Loughlin to give him up, wouldn't you?
David Mackay is speculating once again.
Just repeating.
You always know something more than we don't. That's why you're so good at what you do. Keating takes, I think, his first mark for the afternoon. Aaron Keating outside 50. Looking for some sort of movement. O'Brien now moves, but into the wrong direction. There is a pack of Port Adelaide players. One should take it. It is, and it's Jared Polton. So really a wasted opportunity again by the Redlegs going forward. Jared Polton just chips it across to Ambrose. I think the Magpies now just gone back into third gear, realising at this stage of the game is won. I'm sure Coach Stephen Williams would like to see him really belt this side as hard as they possibly can, and a big margin at the end of the day. And keep belting him, you would suspect. You get a lot of joy out of that. Here's just good mark. Claudi's bestest player is a brilliant player. Suffering from a poor pre-season, an injured wrist, lack of opportunities and lack of form. It's a downward spiral, but you just suspect that Port Adelaide would be looking to give him a big pre-season. Port Adelaide Power, that is. Give him a big pre-season and just see what they can make of him next year and get him back to his All-Australian form. From 52 metres out, he heads towards goal. It's a booming kick. Well, that is sheer talent. Great goal to Huskus.
That is a good goal, David. But just on the point of whether he's going to make it back up into the AFL. He's obviously got the talent. Had a fantastic year 12 months ago.
He's only 22.
That's right, still a young bloke. He had injuries, and some guys play with injuries a lot better than others. But I think you're right. A good pre-season under his belt. I think it's somebody that Port Adelaide would like to see get back to that form.
He needs a damn good haircut, that's all I'll say. We're back in the middle of the ground. 61 plays, 112. The Magpies still in charge. Chalmers thumps the ball forward. Coming out well was Carslake, puts it high into the forward line. Cook should take this going back. Couldn't. Malloy's there as well. We hear the three-quarter time siren here. We see the great applause given to the Magpies Army. Norwood at 9 goals 7, 61. Port Adelaide at 17 goals 10, 112. It's a 51-point margin to the Magpies.
The final quarter of the first semi-final of 1998. Norwood trailing by 51 points, and unless there is a remarkable turnaround for the Redlegs, this is their last quarter of 1998. They are the reigning premiers, but Port Adelaide really have shown them the way to go this afternoon. They led by 18 points, Port Adelaide at quarter time, 40 at half time, and 51 at three-quarter time, as Fegan thumps the ball down to Carter. The Port Adelaide defence has been impregnable today. A high ball towards half-forward Binky. Oh, 6 goals, 3 to Brian Binky. And he takes a ripper at half-forward. Delivers it up. Scotty Hodges leads out. And Fleming's done a pretty good job on Scotty Hodges today. And Binky is just killing them. And Burgoyne out of sorts.
He is out of sorts compared to the stellar form that he's in last week. And that was a little reflection of his day where the ball's just bounced off his foot, gone over the line, out of bounds on the fulls. Pascoe goes at the ball, and it's knocked out of bounds by Chalmers. Ball will restart, just short of the wing position with Port Adelaide on the attacking side. The weather here at Westlake is absolutely fantastic. The northerly breeze starting to pick up, but really hasn't had that much effect on the football at all. McIntosh now onto that left foot, drives it forward. The crowd still don't like him. CJ Cook got up high but couldn't take the mark. McIntosh has worked hard, gets the ball back, goes low and long into O'Brien, goes over his head, and it's backed up by Northeast. Looks for the handball now, comes out. Ambrose under pressure. He's wrapped up, gets the little kick away. Falls now to the Port Magpies, working back up through off hands, out wide now. The fit of the fumbles. Cunningham applies the tackle, but Obbs gets the ball forward.
Obbs to Darren Smith at centre half forward. Guts to chest mark. The umpire said he was held in the tackle, however, and against Bowman, Darren Smith, the veteran. 9 kicks. Played a fine hand at centre half forward today. Out to Ormanell and a high bomb. Scotty Hodges sits underneath this one. Front position, 2 hands to the ball. Fleming to Peart to Pascoe. He's in trouble. Elfie's got him. Oh, he got out of jail, really, Pascoe. Went towards the boundary line. And finally, the ball gathered in by Neil. Brought back in. Davey. Tregenza held his eye beautifully, didn't he? Eyes only for the ball. Paddles it forward to Darren Smith. Further afield, it's Bamford. Inside 50 and closing, he goes goal, and it's bending back a little too far, however, and through for a point for Tony Bamford. It's his first score of the afternoon. As we welcome Ken Sheldon to our special comments chair.
Thank you, David. Fantastic day for football here, and Port Adelaide really putting on a clinical display. From what I've seen, it has been a terrific exhibition of first-rate football.
And probably one of Norwood's better players on the day. Fleming will take the kick in, goes long to the outer side, looking for Pascoe, gets pushed underneath it, juggled in the air, nobody claims the mark, comes down now. Burgoyne gets the handball out to Steed, goes over his head, gets it back, put that down as a stat, then a little kick, racks them up but gets nowhere. Comes out to McIntosh now. He'll change sides and it goes to Ops, another good player for Norwood in a fairly sparse list. Comes back inboard by hand into the hands of Pitt. Started on the forward line today. Back to his regular halfback position now as James spills what he should have taken. Looking for a handball. No runners for Norwood at all. Has to go backwards. A reflection of what's happened today. Pitt gets another kick and just pumps it forward. Very, very poor team play from Norwood. CJ Cook battles for the ball. Alfie Steed, or Jared Polton, I think it was on him. and it's closed down, and the ball will restart.
Has been a problem for the Redlegs most of the day, Ken, just bombing the ball into their forward line.
Can't mark it unless your eyes are on the football, David. The ferocity, the physical presence of Port Adelaide has been terrific, and it's witnessed there by Carter. Then again by Jared Polton, who's been terrific in the back pocket, and Brian Lee's also at centre-half back.
No question about that. That's a pretty good assessment. Strigenza thumps it down. Obst. It's Andrew Obst. Burgoyne. Well, Clement's done a pretty good job on him so far today. Around the corner it goes. A high bomb. Difficult. Pascoe. The big fellow sets himself and marks beautifully deep in defence. Just wonder where the Redlegs big fellows were in the first half when it was really counted.
Well, Pascoe started on the bench, David. I'm sorry to interrupt. Yep. Keating started on the ground and gave nothing. And I thought Pascoe did a reasonable job and has continued to do a reasonable job the whole day.
Harvey. Oh, Chalmers took front position, recovered. Now Lees just tries to fend off Downsborough, but quite content to go across the line.
That's one of the great things of Port Adelaide. Come finals time, in fact, come any time, at the time on periods of any game of football, they do play the percentages.
Ball comes in. Chalmers and Downsborough go at it. Falls to Cook, can't control it. Kick comes out Port Adelaide's way. It goes high in there, looking for Binky to take another mark, who's dominated the airwaves from centre-half forward. Falls to Morgan on the left foot, looking for Darren Smith, who can't get to the fall of the ball. And Scratcher Neal comes out, chips one into the centre of the ground, where it will be Cunningham to get hold of the ball. He has had a torrid time today. Every time he's got near the ball, the physical presence of Port Adelaide has just closed in on him, and he really has taken a beating. Off now to the running Troy Clements, who's also played a reasonable game. In through the middle, looking long towards who was
West.
To West, who drops what he should have taken, has another go at it, spills again, falls to Huskus, he's tackled and looks like he's hurt, and away comes Ambrose. The Port Magpies into space again. Polton just slows it right down, looking for the entry out to Scotty Hodges on the lead, and he'll take it on the chest.
Ormanel and Michael was almost at half pace there, wasn't he? Just slowed it right down.
Scotty Hodges now just confirming where the mark is. Looks at his options, going back, still looking maybe to give off, and now settles over the ball. Has two today, looking for his third. Just takes it one step, gets it off, looks pretty good, very close to the line. It's a goal. Scotty Hodges kicks his third, and he's happy with that.
And isn't that just magnificent to see? Hodges, one of the all-time great goal kickers of the SANFL competition. Just so deadly accurate. Goal face pressure, just makes the very most of it.
He kicked it off the outstep. Have a look if we get a slow-mo of that. Kicked it off the outstep just to bend the ball back. I mean, that is an unbelievably talented kick. There's very few players that have got the ability to do that. Just kick the ball off the outstep and turn it to the right. It wasn't a banana, it was just a beautifully controlled kick. 3 goals to Scotty as Port Adelaide run away with this one. The first semi-final belongs to the Magpies. Polton over the top gives away a free kick on Cunningham, and that's been their target all day, just to make sure that when he's near the ball, even if they've given away a free kick, they've got John Cunningham under pressure. Bowman from centre-half back, 3 bounces, delivers it long. Sujay Cook underneath this one. Jim West sets himself. The big man's really had a shocker today. Poor delivery as well, but he hasn't presented himself too often. Bamford back to Ambrose. The defence of Port Adelaide has been watertight. Chalmers, half volley, sits and drills it long and low along the outer side. Darren Smith just got a B-grade bounce. Robert Neal over the top of it, wrapped up by Binky. The umpire forced to come in and bounce. Was there a free? Too high, said the umpire, against Binky, and Neal will take the free.
And a penalty. So Binky, who's had a magnificent game, kicking many goals, 6 in fact.
It'll be Robert Neal. Plays on now, comes across the ground, looking for Bowman, who's made space on the members' side. Plays on now around Burgoyne and just chips it right up in the air. McIntosh is underneath it. Oh, Bowman goes again, hard at the body. It'll be Borlase, gets himself off the ground. They're tough, these Port Adelaide Magpies, as they attack once more. But big fellow in Pascoe has made some ground and takes the safest of chest marks. Goes on the left-hand side out wide, looking for Scotty Doreen. tried to control the ball, nothing there. Interchange happens as Jarks comes back into the fray. Spent a reasonable amount of time on the bench.
He's giving, when he's been on, he's given the Port Adelaide players first use of the football, his dominance in ruck, I think particularly in the first half. Brian Lee's now sitting on the interchange, having a well-earned rest, had a great game.
Yes, he has had a great game. Stephen Williams now the luxury of resting some of the older players. Perhaps Lees has been suffering a few little niggles, and the coach is aware of that.
Well, that one day in September, if they are to win it, they'll have to
try October.
Have to have come, four in a row. Have to win 4 in a row, so it'll be a huge finals campaign for the Magpies. So when you can rest your players, you must do so. So good coaching.
Just indoctrinated you, Victorians, aren't you? Hey.
That's what we all grew up for, just to play that one day of September, and now it's October.
First week in October here as Vicky takes front position. Sujai Cook cleaned up. Scotty Hodges came through and collected him high. And the chef, well, it hasn't been a big afternoon for him. Handballs are back to Pitt. 10 kicks and 6 handballs to Sujai. They were looking for a lot more from him. Bowman, one of the players for Norwood, have really battled on. 13 possessions, him 7 marks. Davey comes towards Houston, got a little nudge from Northeast. The umpire saw the infringement and gave it away as a free. Now the advantage allowed to flow as Damien Obbs streams away from it, comes inside. Tregenza squares it up. Jim West, front position, lost his footing. Ambrose on the half volley. Hasn't he been outstanding today? One of Port Adelaide's better players.
And out to Andrew Ox on the far side. He's got space to burn. Goes in looking for Scotty Hodges. Beaten for pace by Fleming this time. Fleming takes a good mark. Gives a handball off to Cook. Cook now goes long, out wide, in space. Norwood looking forward again, looking for Jimmy West. He's in front of Ambrose this time, gets his hands to the ball again. Again, couldn't complete the mark. Picked up by Doreen, and that's his first.
That's his second.
It is his second. Scotty Doreen, a consolation goal after the ball wasn't controlled by Jimmy West. Spilt down, and a good finish.
You can see there on replay clearly the ball coming to the front. What classic roving by Anthony Harvey. Ran to the front and square of that pack and flicked it up to a just terrific over to Doreen. Realised he was there, and in full of composure, Doreen. Here's a lovely finisher. Brings up his second goal.
52 points as David Brown prepares to come back on. Darren Smith goes to the bunker for a rest, as does Brian Lee. So I think if you've got a 3 in front of your age at Port Adelaide, you're going to have a rest in this final quarter. Coaching, is it, from Stephen Williams?
We talked about it earlier, David. It is a real luxury for Stephen Williams now to just manage his players and prepare for next week. Because Alfie Sneed, who's played a great game of football, comes around that outside, goes towards goal. Oh, that's a fantastic kick. That's his 4th goal, and Alfie Sneed, he's been a revelation in this final series. Just so hard at the ball, and he's developing the skills to match.
Well, I think you've hit on it there, Michael. We've seen this young fellow play his first game at Alberton last year, and he suffered a bit of a knee injury, but he really has come back hard, and he is just full of tenacity. He's full of everything that you admire, and I think fast becoming very much a cult figure.
Yeah, they love him down at Port Adelaide, and he loves Port Adelaide. I had the chance to talk to him a couple of times this year, Ken, and he just loves playing football for the black and white jumper. As the ball's restarted, Pascoe goes high, gets his hand on the ball, forwards to CJ Cook, handball off, Pascoe again, gets rid of the handball without any direction, and it falls to, who is that player? Polton bursts through, Northeast on the run now.
The Iceman.
It was Scotty Hahn. The kick is falling short and into the hands of Fleming. Fleming now out wide, looking for Obst. Obst will take it on his chest, turn and run as he loves to do. Fastest man in football. But Boygon picks him up pretty quickly. Downsborough just runs under the ball. That's fairly ordinary. Johnny Cunningham, chance to get hold of it. And he's got that now. Out to James. James goes into the head of the square. Contest for the ball. Chance for Norwood. But again, through Carter, it's Port Adelaide that comes up with the ball.
Carter drills it at Ormond Allen under pressure from Carslake. Ormond Allen squeezes out a handball to Carter, who's running down. Hasn't he played a disciplined game today, Carter? So's this fellow Polton. Great defenders for Port Adelaide, along with Lees and Ambrose. It's been solid. And Scotty, oh, I thought he took the chest mark. He came down. I think he flinched as he came down. I hope he's right. But he took a big fly and almost came down with it. Well, you hold your breath when he does that, don't you?
knees came up into the rib cage, I think, and just knocked a bit of wind out of his sails.
Hasn't he? Look, he hasn't kicked a lot of goals today, Scotty Hodges. In fact, I think he's managed 3. It's not his biggest tally, but the way he's gone about it today makes him look very dangerous for the finals.
And I think it's only his second senior game in 4 or 5 weeks as well. So conditioning, just priming himself. And gee, I'll never forget that great goal he kicked. Right from where that little boundary
96 preliminary final
to put them into the grand final in 1996. One of the best goals you'd ever see in football. And Port Adelaide supporters watching would, I think.
And Scratcher Neal plays it onto himself. Runs now. It was interesting that Port Adelaide actually played a man up there on the kick-in. Normally we see the zone in today's football. Gone out wide, got good distance from that kick. Tied up on the outer side. Oh, a little vigour still in the game. And Alfie Steed comes out with a free kick, plays on immediately to David Brown, who's just come out onto the ground. Gives Scotty Hodges another chance to jump at the ball. Falls free now. And Big Pascoe, who's played a reasonable game, gives on the up, gives to a Port Adelaide player. In there again, gets another handball off, goes out wide. Through Scotty Doreen now by hand. Norwood run it down through the midfield, but again, Orman and Allen in the way through Borlays and then Brown, who's had a great game, racking up the possessions everywhere, puts it into centre half forward. CJ Cook under pressure, and he is going to pick up a free kick for being held without the ball.
We think back to round 22 when Port Adelaide defeated Norwood by 60 points. That day we thought it was just an aberration. But you see Port Adelaide finding the vigour and form at this time of the year. You know that they're a very, very good side. Pitt underneath that one, he's been their best defender all year. In fact, fair to say Stephen Pitt would be highly likely to win Norwood's best and fairest this year.
It's a reasonable call, David.
He's had just an exemplary season. And a lot of their key playmakers, Cunningham, Harvey blokes and McIntosh blokes you think would feature, really been injured for a good part of the year, and Pitt's been injury-free for most of it. Obst around the corner, a little quick kick. We're 16 minutes into the final quarter of the first semi-final. Port Adelaide doing as they like. The Redlegs finished for 98. Port Adelaide will get a crack at the loser of Sturton West Adelaide.
And we're looking forward to that game as well. As again, it's Port Adelaide taking the ball away from the throw-in through Borlays. Out wide, Binky again. He's kicked 6. I don't know how many marks he's had, but he is absolutely dominated.
12 marks.
12 marks for the day. He has just dominated that position at centre half forward. He's kicked 6 and he's missed a couple of easies.
3 easies.
We're right behind this one. Get a really good view at it. And he comes. It's on its way. Will it come back on the wind? It won't. And he's missing his chances now to run to his mum and tell him what a great day he had, Ken.
It's a great effort to kick 6 goals, but it's an even mightier effort to kick 7 and 8. But what a movement from Port Adelaide. The boundary throw in front of the members' wing here, and they just set themselves up perfectly for the neutral ball situation. Hahn, quick hands through to Borlace, who was the centre man, was just sitting in behind the throw-in. And then they just set themselves up beautifully with a good forward entry.
10 scoring shots to Brian Binky in a first semi-final. Fine effort as Davey goes towards the line, and Borlays, the Port Adelaide skipper, quite content with the proceedings. Currently, Davey, we mentioned his courage in this match, but he's had a torrid afternoon. And there is one happy Port Adelaide fan, as most of them will be tonight. Pascoe down the throat of Sujai Cook. He gets through traffic, handballs it away to Clements, who releases Harvey. A spearing kick forward. Huskus was the target, but Polton dropped back underneath that one. Harassed by Cunningham. Polton's good enough to spin away. Got out of trouble and delivers it beautifully to Morgan at left half forward. Morgan's got Hodges on a lead, ignores that one. Comes back inboard, has Borlays short. No, but look at the long option. Deep in the pocket. The kick just needed to be a little longer, but Obbs found it anyway. Oh, it might be a 25-metre penalty too. Against Bowman, who is a niggling type of defender.
Beautifully done by Daniel Morgan. 80 metres from goal when he received that football. Seen the Hodges lead, but elected not to use it. Spotted Obbs deep in the pocket, who was running from about 40 metres out into the goal square and just had to get around the next Norwood player so that he could carry the distance with his kick. Obbs was always his target. Tremendous vision.
34-year-old Andrew Obbs, point-blank range on the point of the square. Lifts it up, lobs it through, and Port Adelaide have got 20 goals on the board. It's not a bad performance, is it? They kicked 17 last week, Port Adelaide, and 20 again today. Their forward structure is looking formidable.
Their forward structure is good, and also their entry, the way they bring it in to their forward structure, the way they're using it is tremendous, as was a great example there by Daniel Morgan, number 26 for Port Adelaide. Great long vision he had.
67 plays, 133. Jakes down to Morgan. Borlase, quick kick away towards half forward. It is Burgoyne, 4 points today. Spears it towards Scotty Hodges. Fleming, though, has done the job on Scotty, even though Scotty's looked dangerous. And he marks deep in defence as we welcome Mark Nailey back to the commentary.
Yes, you'd have to say that Fleming would be by far the most outstanding Norwood player on the field today. They've had too many people. On the other hand, the Magpies,
Bowman,
possibly Bowman a centre-half back, but they definitely have their back line. Has seen plenty of the football here at Football Park. That was Obbs. Tregenza comes up with the ball.
Actually, Obbs, you'd have to say, has tried pretty hard, Mark, as well. So
well, he's had a great battle with Tregenza. A couple of speedsters out on this wing here this afternoon. Ball's bounced. Pascoe looks at Big Jakes as he comes through. Obbs gives the ball out. Quick kick by Clements. Goes forward. Downsborough comes out. Couldn't take the mark. In there is Harvey. The ball breaks free. Chance for Brown. Harvey just dives over the top of the ball. Again, the pack forms, and the umpire will come in and ball up.
Tell you another player I picked out is Troy Clements for Norwood. Done a great job on Burgoyne, keeping him to 4 points. But gee, there's not too many. I think that's the point you're making, isn't it?
Well, the Magpies, David, just trying to think who's the best player. You look at Borlase with his possessions. Alfred Steed, I have just been so impressed with that lad this afternoon. You look at Beefy at centre-half forward, who's kicked 6 goals. Really, I mean, Brown, the player there in screen, he's also been outstanding. I mean, in the half-back line, you look at Carter, you look at Lees, a centre-half back. Even Jared Poulton's done a fair effort as well. Orman Allen on the other wing. Mad Dog Morgan in the middle. I mean, just go right through the whole Magpies team. And it's very, very hard, really, to say, well, I'd say he's been by far the most outstanding player. They've just got so many players who've been in such good form and such good touch.
Borlase with 31 possessions has to be high amongst Port Adelaide's best. Their skipper. It seems that their skippers have a way about them in finals. Tim Ginniver last year was their man of the finals, the captain, as well as winning their best and fairest. And you'd think that perhaps Borlase has a chance to win their best and fairest again this year. Huskis, well, he ran the gauntlet, gone away the handball, delivers it up to Doreen, who drills towards goal and misses. Well, he's their third highest scorer this year, Ken, but he has had very little effect on this match today.
It's a fair call, David. Still, it has been difficult, I think. Like Port Adelaide have just been superior. They just opened up with a goal blitz as again in the second and in the third with a flurry of goals, and they've just dominated proceedings all day here today. Their defensive 6 has been magnificent. Their centre line, as Mark Nailey just called, has had an enormous amount of possessions and been given first option by their ruck division, and they have had multiple goal kickers in their forward line. So overall, just a great team performance. Very difficult for Norwood.
Again, the Magpies through the captain and Borlase. He just sockers the ball off the ground. Comes out towards Tregenza. He goes back to Morgan, back to Tregenza. Tregenza chips the ball forward and finds Bamford. Bamford comes around the wing, goes up high. Bowman, good mark over the top of Carter.
Just saw Todd Davey being assisted from Football Park, Mark. I don't know that we've ever seen a final that Norwood have played at a Football Park that he hasn't been carried off on a stretcher.
Oh, committed play, really does go hard at it. It was lined up in the first quarter there by Hodges 3 times. Took another one out the outer wing here from Carter. So he has been a marked man. Along with Cunningham, they have received a fair bit of attention from the boys in the black and white jumpers.
Took him 20 times to get him. He is a tough little nut, Todd Davey, no question about that. I think one of the unluckiest players not to have a go at AFL football, by the way. I think he would have been an absolute sensation in the wet grounds of the AFL. David Brown preparing to come back on. Well, you look at his future, he's only a young man, still with some AFL footy left in him, but obviously not thinking his future's with the Port Power. Keating thumps the ball forward. The Iceman, Hahn, sets out after it. Pitt couldn't quite go with him. Got the boot to ball, Scotty Hahn, but he was out of play before doing so. The umpire will throw it in.
It's those young blokes like Hahn there in picture.
Steed and Polton.
Fellas like Polton, fellas like Bamford and Steed, they really have added another dimension to the Port Adelaide side since about 3/4 of the way through the season. They've really just come to their own and added a lot of aggression and young legs.
Well, last year's grand final, they were, you'd have to say, the only criticism you could have said that Port weren't very quick. All of a sudden, they've just found 3 or 4 players through their junior ranks in Alfred Steed. And also Polton, the Iceman. And they're just given that leg speed. And also having players back from the AFL, people like Peter Burgoyne, helps. Tregenza. It's up. Hodges behind again. Fleming was there. Bowman knocks the ball down and pushes Binky into the goalpost. Steed comes up with it. He's told to steady turn and kick. He does that. And 5 goals to Alfred Steed. I'd have to say he goes close to my best.
Truly is an excellent performance from Alfie Steed. 10 kicks, 4 handballs, and 5 big ones to his name. And that was a terrific one. You can see here he's elected not to take the handball option, realising that the fellow that would have given it to would have been under more pressure than himself. He then balanced very quickly and put it right through the middle.
Didn't see much of Alfie Steed last year at all, but see, this year, hasn't he? He was out with a knee injury. He played, I think he only played about 8 or so games for the reserves last year. We didn't see a great deal of him at all, but hasn't he been just quite terrific today? We said he played 3 reserves games last year for 1 goal.
Had a crippling injury last year and really did put him out. The signs were there at the start of last year that Alfred Steed would promote himself into the league football at some stage throughout the year, but as we said earlier, today he has been outstanding. There's a lot of talent scouts here, as we've noticed throughout the crowd this afternoon, and there's no doubt that his name would be penciled in their books. Harvey comes through the wing. West should take it. He does. His 2nd mark for the afternoon has been disappointing. That's his 1st mark for the afternoon. So it really has been a disappointing. He's only had 1 handball up to the stage. That's his 1st kick. No score's been registered. The Magpies have just forced it through. Another rush behind. So 10-8, 10-9, 69 now plays Port Adelaide. 21-13, 139.
There would have to be a question mark, Ken, over Jim West's future. He's been a marvellous player for Glenelg and Norwood, leading to a flag last year, but his form this year has been patchy, to say the least. Again,
through injuries, coming to the end of a long career. Many goals he has kicked, but again, I know it's a poor excuse for forwards, but you make the leads, you know, you expect it to at least give you an even chance, or a better than even chance. And the Norwood forward entries just haven't been up to scratch today. They've just been over his head, they've been on the ground, they've been to the side. But the man is an aging footballer, and flexibility is not one of his greatest assets. However, when delivered laced out like it was then from Harvey.
Oh, Damien Hobbs, free kick against him. Threw the ball back at the boundary umpire. Oh no, the umpire's let him off. He knew that he kept it in, by the way. We had a pretty clear view of it, and clearly that was in. Boundary umpire saying it was out, and Damien didn't like it. I think he get a bit of razz over that over the summer, because he runs with the umpires. Obst. Sorry, ball A's down. Now it's Obst. Bamford. Oh,
that's late. That's a free kick. Yes, the umpire has picked it up. Umpire Rod Bentridge.
That is frustration, isn't it? That's all it is. I think Norwood came today expecting to win, and they can't believe they've been humiliated by Port Adelaide in the way that they have.
Could be another one here. 15 metres will have to go downfield. Come on.
Yep.
There'll have to be a 50-metre free kick.
Yep, there is. It's down the field.
Down the field at least.
Magger just squared it away with Obst.
It was always, the umpire was onto it from 40 metres. His intent was always there.
Binky, the 6-goal man, 6 goals, 4-2. 10 possessions. Mark's been a pretty good performance.
He really has. He's led down the middle of the ground for most of the afternoon. He's a talented player.
So you got to love that Andrew Obst, hasn't he? Like I remember watching him play as a youngster here before he was drafted.
7 goals. 7 goals to Binky. 7 goals for match-winning performance. Steed has 5. Binky has 7. Clear cut who the 2 best for Port Adelaide are.
Yes, and you throw Ball Ace, the captain, in amongst those.
They're the three, aren't
Other
they?
two. I mean, they have to be the three players.
Now we go back to Jim West before. You're talking about a forward performing. Well, if you're getting it delivered like that was then from Obst, it makes the job a lot more easy, and it's just beautiful disposal into the forward line from Obst.
What's Binky saying? These are hand signals saying,
So
right,
we just
he's
keep shooting
counting.
them.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 I've kicked this afternoon. I think I deserve the best player award. It's down. Figa just lays the ball off very casually across to Ambrose, also been good. He forced the ball down to Burgoyne, across the big ruckman and Jakes, and lucky to get away with not being penalised there with big Daniel Jakes as he went to the ground. Gets a pat on the head from Tony Banford. Jakes goes back and will contest the ruck duel with Aaron Keating.
Keating, whose performance today has been certainly below par. Clearly one of the emerging big men, but has had an off day today. The two skippers collide. It's McIntosh and Borlase. Borlase will go away with a smile. Gary McIntosh with 380 games, 381, 371 games. Checking that, 371 games. Will he retire? Brown around the corner. Bowman high amongst Norwood's best today. Although, having said that, he's had a swag of goals kicked on him.
Yes, well, he's had a couple of opponents. He started with Chalmers. Then we saw even Binky went in there at some stage. Also, Smith's come on the centre half forward. So Stephen Williams has been quite prepared to move his side around. As I said before, he's had plenty of options through the midfield. As we hear the final siren here, David Mackay.
56 points, final margin to Port Adelaide. It's been a big performance. They led by 18 at quarter time, 40 at half time, 51 at three-quarter time. The final margin, 56 points. Port Adelaide 22-13. Norwood 10 goals, 9. Norwood are out of the finals race. Port Adelaide advance to next week's preliminary final. What a shootout that will be. You've seen all the action exclusively to ABC Sport.